yeah. Here we go. It's podcast time, people. We do what we do. We do what we do, and we talk what we talk, and we mess around and do all sorts of fun stuff. Anyway, we're Almost Agreement, almostagreement@gmail.com. Find us on Facebook, on Twitter, on YouTube. Go to the website, almostagreement.com. All right, there, check out hollerboo.com, Hollerboo24, April 26th, in the wonderful Happy Holler right here in downtown Knoxville, Tennessee. Soapbox Derby Street Fair and Rock and Roll Show. Official lineup announcement comes out this Tuesday because we had to put it back a week because some other festival that's apparently a big deal put their lineup out this last Tuesday. So we had to play second fiddle to those schmucks. We're going to talk about that a little bit. About we had a debate, which I don't know. We'll say a little bit about the debate, but I'm not going to stick on it too long. And a number of other fun, cool things going on this week, so we're going to chat about that as well. So almost agreement @gmail.com. Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. Go to your favorite webcast provider. Get us up there. Tell all your friends about us. Text us to your friends. Do whatever you can do to help us spread the word, because we're going to keep talking about stuff. And election time is upon us. It's going to get serious super fast. And so are we. Maybe. Hey, bud day.
Hey.
Well, what's new with ya?
Oh, not much.
Yeah. So, got to see the new whip. That's nice.
Yep.
I like your new whip.
Okay.
Whip. But that was new last week. It's not new this week, so you don't have to lie and say it's new this week, just so I get something new out of you.
Right.
Yeah, so this afternoon, which I found interesting on a couple of levels, I had a Marsha Blackburn door knocker come knocking on my door. I'm sorry, let me correct myself. It was this morning, because the Compass guys were on their way to tape, and they were running late, as per usual. And they told me they were late, and somebody knocks on the door right about the time they would be knocking on the door if they show up. I was like, damn, they got here quick. And I run hopping up the stairs, and it's this young lady who I was like, she was for a Republican door knocker, I was surprised at how young she was. Now, she's probably 20. I don't know what our population of young, active Republican women are in Knox County, but I wouldn't think it's a huge number, but it's probably not an insignificant number. Yeah. At least, enough that they're going to go knock on doors on a Friday morning. She knocks on the door, and she's got this little survey for Marsha Blackburn on her phone. You got a couple minutes to answer questions? Like, yep. And it was like, are you planning on voting? And I was like, yep. And it's like, are you voting for Trump or Harris? Nope. What do you mean no? I was like, I'm not voting for Trump or Harris. Well, are you leaning one way or the other? No. Okay. If the senatorial race were held today, would you vote for Marsha or Johnson? And I said, I'm not sure. I haven't decided yet. Which, honestly, my true answer is...
She was like, ooh, click. You're going to get some more flyers.
I'm not sure. I haven't decided yet. It is true. However, I have decided I'm not voting for Marsha Blackburn. I just haven't decided if Lori's going to get my vote or not.
Yeah.
And so she goes on, like, what's the most important issue? I was like, well, I'm weird. I think foreign policy is the number one issue of our presidency, but it's also the top of the list of things I care about that the federal government's doing. I wish they'd stay out of the other stuff. And I was like, is that even on your little survey list? She's like, foreign policy terrorism. Like, foreign policy / terrorism is the answer. And so I care about terrorists, apparently. According to Marsha Blackburn's survey unit. And so, Marsha's big on stopping terrorists and whatnot. It's like, okay, whatever.
Who's not?
I want them all here.
That's a great policy stance.
I want to move in next door to me and do all sorts of stuff. It's the how.
In case there's ever a question, I am against terrorism.
It's like, but I didn't think of it. I just thought of it now, and I wish I had. And it's one of those, it's not fair to the poor girl that's knocking on my door, but I want to be like, hey, Marsha tweeted the other day about how proud of herself she is for making sure that Tennessee doesn't have an income tax.
Yeah.
Can you help explain to me what she did to make sure that we don't have an income tax in Tennessee? Because my understanding of it is it's in the Constitution of the state of Tennessee. It's not an option for any government, state or federal government, to impose a state-level income tax in Tennessee. Yeah. Can you help me understand how she gets to take credit for that as a senator for the federal government? It's just like shit like that. I don't know. Like,
is she looking for a thank you card? Like, I don't get it.
Well, it's just, this is why you vote for me, because if you vote for that other person, they're going to put a state income tax in place. And it's like, no, they can't do that. It's not an option. Right. But here we are. And
take 2 election cycles, right?
It would be a constitutional amendment, so it's right. It has to be
voted on.
It's a simple majority, or I'm sorry, it's got to be a 2/3 majority in the House, State House and Senate, and then a simple majority on a new session, and then on a gubernatorial ballot. So, like, the fastest you could pull one off.
So I guess it's something similar to like the federal, to where, I guess statewide they'd have to get signatures, from 3/4 of the counties or whatever, like we have, to where you have to be so many, or a majority of the states have to sign off on it for a federal constitutional amendment.
Right. Yeah, I don't know that. Yeah.
It sounds like, I guess for statewide, it could be just the representative can do it and voted upon in the state Congress.
No. In the state, it has to be. It could be put on the ballot, but it has to be put on the ballot by legislature. There is no statewide ballot initiative. Like if you and I started a petition,
but do they have to vote to put it on a certain ballot?
They have to vote on it in 2 non-consecutive sessions, because basically every 2 years is a session.
I guess the very beginning of it could be just a single representative that brings it forth to the House.
Right. And then the House would vote on it. The Senate would have a matching bill. It gets through on first reading, or on first reading. And so if it's an odd year, it would have to wait till the next odd year or the even year after that. Because, like, if they do it, so we're going into the 25 session. The 25 session will be the first year of this new class, basically, right. Because all the House of Reps is changing, half of the Senate is changing in this cycle that we're in right now.
Right.
And so if let's say Marcia, for example, not Marcia, that doesn't make sense. Let's say Gloria in her District 89 seat, because she doesn't win her Senate seat, introduces a bill for a constitutional amendment to the state of Tennessee this year, or in 25. It gets passed in 25. It can't get voted on again until 27. And then it has to pass again in 27, and then it will go on the gubernatorial ballot immediately following that. So at that point, it would be 2030 would be the next gubernatorial ballot, because there'll be a 26 gubernatorial race between then. But you can't get one onto the 26 gubernatorial ballot at this point if you don't already have at least the first round of voting already done, which there's like 4. If you go to the Secretary of State website for Tennessee and go to election stuff, there's like 4 constitutional amendments that are through their first phase, waiting on the second phase to get onto a ballot, to get onto that. So we should have some questions on the 26th ballot, unless the legislature completely changes their mind on some of these things.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, I don't know. Marcia sucks, and I'm not going to vote for her. But it's like that's the thing about door knockers that sucks, is because
So any other questions they asked?
No, that was it. And then it was like after the conversation, they re-asked, are you planning on voting for Marcia or Gloria? And I said, I don't know. Because
after what little bit I've just told you, have I changed your mind yet?
The one thing, and then I turned on this poor little girl and started asking her questions. It's like, so I know you're not going to the whole neighborhood, but you're doing a bunch of houses in this neighborhood. And she's like, yeah, a good number, or whatever. It's like, okay, cool. It's like, I'm not asking who said what, but like, what are my neighbors caring about? And she kind of fumbled around for a second, and it's like, I don't think I'm allowed to answer that. Like, I think you're allowed to. You could choose not to. I can't make you answer that, but I don't think that there's any obligation for you not to answer that. You're knocking on people's doors, asking them questions. Their right to privacy is out the window. I mean,
essentially, what could be heard from the street? Yeah,
right. But it's not even that. It's that you are telling a stranger something. They have no obligation to keep that secret.
Right.
Unless they say this is a,
confidential poll.
This is we're doing some confidential polling on this topic.
Right.
But even then, I wasn't asking for, so I saw you were at my house. My guy, that guy 2 houses down from me, he's a dick. What did he say?
Right.
I'm not asking that. I wasn't asking for detail. I was just asking what, because I'm curious. I truly am. I'd like to know.
She just didn't want to lie to you, and there was nobody else really told her any reasons whatsoever. They were just like, yeah, no, okay, thanks, bye.
Yeah. Because, but I truly am curious. If I got 50 houses or whatever in this neighborhood, if they've been to 20 of them, I'd be curious what my neighbors what they think their top what their top issue is in the presidential or the senatorial race here. Yeah. I'd be curious to know. Just hey, what is it? What do you care? What do you care about? I would think economy is probably the number one answer in this neighborhood.
Are you allowed to flyer your neighborhood? Could you write a questionnaire and just put it in their mailbox?
I mean, not in the mailbox. That's a federal crime.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah.
But you could go door knocking in your own neighborhood. Sure, there's no. I mean, I don't know. I don't have a homeowner, so I could do it here. If you're in a neighborhood with a homeowners association, they might oblige no soliciting, even if it's within.
I guess you could tape it to the mailbox, put it in the paper box.
I mean, I know when we were scouts, we used to do the scouting for food thing where we'd tape a flyer to mailboxes.
Yeah.
And, it's one of those. I don't think you're allowed to do that technically.
So when I did it years ago, we just hung like a plastic bag on the front door. There was like a note on it that was basically, next Saturday or whatever,
Yeah, that's
we're
what
going
it
to come
was.
back and pick up this bag.
That's what it is. It's a door hanger, but with like the new rule that scouting was, instead of going to people's door, you'd hang it on the hook on their mailbox.
That makes sense.
Or on the flag of their mailbox, so they get it, and like they assume that you have scouts assumes that you have your own bag. Like, you have your own bag. Just put a bag of non-perishables. Like,
man, how times have changed. Scouts can't even afford plastic bags no more.
But it's like, put the bag on your mailbox next Saturday, and we'll come pick it up.
Right.
I snuck out of doing those every year. We participated as a pack or whatever, but I never participated personally. My kids did a couple times.
Yeah, it's a good cause.
Grandma's the jam.
Helps out kind of twofold, because there's a lot of people that have perishables, or they're like, I totally forgot I've got this can of beans. Like, I'm not going to use it.
Right. I don't know how
Let's
we
put
ended
this
up
to
with
a better use.
We ended up with a can of collards, and it's like we don't eat collards in this house.
Yeah.
It's just we're not going to ever make that, and it's just going to sit there. So, I will next time I have the opportunity, I'll dump that on some fund or whatever. But,
sure.
So she wouldn't answer any questions, and then one of the other people that was canvassing with her was walking down the street. I was like, is he working with you today? She's like, yeah. I was like, hey, Philip! Like, I started yelling random dude names at him, trying to get his attention. He completely ignored me. And she got really uncomfortable with what I was doing. Because I was basically just like, you're not answering my questions. Hey, dude.
Yeah.
What are my neighbors saying? I was going to try to follow up with that. I've had a couple of those today. Okay. And so...
Just make sure it wasn't just me.
He completely ignored me and got in the car. And then she was like, okay, well, thanks for your time. And then she went and got in the car with him. I was like, "Hey,
scare her off the canvas."
That sounds like Marsha listening to her constituents too. I get it. Accurate. Fact check.
Don't answer questions. Don't answer questions.
All right, I want to glance over this because I don't want to go too hard into the debate. But I don't think I
Say
think
your piece and we can go on.
I think we would be remiss if we didn't make fun of eating pets.
Yeah,
I did learn a very interesting sub-story, very local sub-story a couple days ago on the topic. There is a neighboring municipality that about 5-7 years ago, there was a call into the local police department that there were duck traps in the park. To which the police department obliges the complaint, fills out a report, goes out to the park, and there are duck traps in the park. So there was somebody trapping ducks. And it turns out it was the local Chinese restaurant, 100% doing exactly what you think that they would do with ducks that they trap in the park. To which the municipality was already aware of this prior to said complaint, and was in the process of trying to educate the Chinese restaurant that they can't do that.
Yeah.
And to the Chinese restaurant's defense was like, oh, we didn't know. Like, we just, there were ducks just there. Can we eat the ducks? And so they took the ducks, which is part of the one that's in play with this one. There was
one viral picture of a guy that did have what looks like a Canadian geese. It's kind of like holding it, walking down the street. But
I mean, I don't
when
care.
They did the street view,
kill them all.
Well, when they did the street view, it was implied that it was from Springfield, but it was actually, when you do like the Google Street View and do like the reverse image search, and it was actually a street in Columbus, Ohio. But they're basically like their wildlife, their version of TWRA was like already like out there looking for them. They're like, yes, like that is hunting out of season or whatever,
right?
Or that's killing a migratory bird out of season,
right? Although Canadian geese can all die for all I give a shit. Those guys are fucking assholes. I hate Canadian geese.
Poop machines.
Maybe it's my anti-Canadian nationalism in play. It might be the Canadian part, but I'm pretty sure it's the goose part that I hate.
Don't hate the goose.
But yeah,
hate the goose, hate the
all right.
Canuck.
There was another story about about a U.S. citizen Haitian lady who had cooked a goose or something like that, and there was some implication. It was just a dumbass claim.
There was a woman I think in Canton, Ohio, recently that was like busted for like eating a cat.
Right, but she's a citizen.
I don't know if there was,
but she's a U.S. citizen. That's the important
but
distinction.
I never saw like a race or anything tagged with it.
The moral of the story here is Americans are crazy, It's not the ones that are sneaking their way across the border that are doing it. It's us. It's our own crazy asses. It's just such a dumb thing to bring up. Period.
It's just sad. It's just dog whistle shit.
Well, it's just, but it's not. I mean, the thing is
just
that
plays on those people's fear of
Right.
I could almost believe it.
But you could make the argument you're trying to make with factual stories that do exist. You didn't need to go to this weird version of it. Especially
You're defeating your purpose of it. It's like, okay, you were trying to bring attention to, the mass amount of
the crime and stuff that is associated with, and then because
there's not been a spike. Sorry, go ahead.
There is crime associated with. I'm not saying a spike. There's not. No, there's not a story about a girl in Georgia that was a student at a college in Georgia that got murdered by a Venezuelan
I thought you were talking about
guy
their town.
there.
I'm sorry. You're talking about just throughout the U.S.
Yes, I'm talking about in general. There are plenty of stories you could have covered that are true stories that aren't weird pet eating stories that could have made your point for you.
Okay.
You didn't need to go to some weird obscure thing. You had real stories. Now, does that make your point? I mean, it makes your point, yes. Does it make it a universally electable point? I don't know. That's people's own opinions on how they take that over. But that's at least a true story that is a known true story, and there's a good handful of them out there. Not a crazy huge number. You're right. There's not a spike in them. We don't have more. Like, we kill each other more than other people coming here kill us. Sure. And that's what's so ridiculous about it. It's like, because I would consider myself fairly tuned in to the craziness that is the political machine and stuff like that. I had never heard anything about this until afterwards. Or until he said it, and then
I think I texted you the day before. I think I said something I didn't want to lead you down, but I think I said something I don't know if you heard the crazy or the most recent story or
Maybe
the crazy story they're spreading around now. I think I left it vague and didn't really get into specifics.
Yeah, you said that was kind of stupid. No, sure, secretly. No, you didn't text me a story. At least you might have texted a text. Some crazy cop stuff. Colorado. That made me upset. So I got so we'll stay presidential for just a second. I got really excited. I got a text message from
it was right there above.
Trump's.
That was where I did the JP. Yeah, there's even more bizarre fake story going around.
Oh, you didn't tell me what it was. You just said that Muskie and JP are already doing. Gotcha. I got excited. I got a text message from a Trump fundraiser or from a Trump survey, and I was like, "Cool, I'll do this survey." And I remembered I remembered to take screenshots while I was going through it so that I could share it with you and all of our listeners and whatever, and we could talk about it. And it wasn't a survey; it was just a bunch of bullshit to get to a point where you had to donate to his campaign. Literally, it was how much do you want to donate? $0. Submit your whatever. And then, it stops itself and the little red box pops up. It says you got to fill something into this blank. It's like, nope, you don't get my information. I mean, it's not that they don't care. They don't want what I have to say. Because, it's the first one, All
right, but it's ridiculous that there's an actual cost that you have to do just to let them know, your voice.
It's just his survey. It's not, because he's not, I don't think he wants...
I know it's not a true survey.
I don't think it's a survey anyway. I think it's just a way to make me feel engaged and donate. It's leaning on, at best, it's a survey for what they're going to try to use as their talking points moving forward. Or maybe talking points they don't have to use.
This is where he got that 98% from.
Maybe. Surveys say I won the debate. No, you didn't, buddy. You did not win that debate. You got your ass kicked. Kamala wasn't great, don't get me wrong, but You got your ass kicked. She said the most mundane, ridiculous stuff that had nothing to do with anything, and you wasted half your time on every legitimate question defending your crowd sizes and your dad's income and all sorts of stupid stuff instead of actually talking about what you wanted to talk about. Layup questions about immigration. That instead of talking about immigration, you start talking about ducks and your crowd size.
He made a couple good points of attack against her, but he wasn't able to really stick to it.
No, none of it. It was terrible. I gave up about halfway through. I tried. No. I really tried. But as soon as the wife came in, hey, you want to watch something? Hell yeah.
Please. Did you see RFK didn't quite have the nicest things to say? I'm not sure if he's going to be around in the administration very long.
Kudos to RFK for being honest. That made me happy.
I'll give him props for that.
You can disagree with him on how he feels about things and what he thinks the right thing to do is, but at least he's willing. And especially if you're going to take a swing and be on Team Trump, if you've paid him half a second of attention, the only way to stay on Team Trump is to kiss his ass.
Yeah.
And
I don't know if this was an out.
maybe he's like, I fucked up on this one. Let me out of here. But I don't know, because like potential, like long term, like honestly, of all the little pundits and little surrogates and all the little people running around in the Trump world and stuff like that, you know, I mean, Kennedy burned a lot of bridges doing what he did.
Yeah.
And so what little bit of relevancy he has left is attached to Trump. If he doesn't get somewhere with Trump, he is off in oblivion.
Possibly.
I think he's like, I mean, I think he's burned everything he has a chance on having any influence on any future.
Yeah, he still got his family.
Who all hate him publicly.
True.
Because he's ruining their family name. Yeah, so anyway, I was really bummed that this survey wasn't a real survey. I was really excited.
Okay, thanks for taking your time. Can we have some money now?
Yeah, that's exactly literally what it did. It was like literally like, thanks. Put a number. It was literally like put a number here and then click donate to submit your responses. It's like, I don't want to donate. I just want to submit my responses.
Right. Yeah, so I don't think he really moved the needle. He played to his base. He may have picked up a few people from the debate, but
I mean, I don't
think he wooed really anybody in the middle.
I think realistically, he wasn't good. Like, I think he was in the position that he would have had to have done something extremely bad to lose ground. Not to lose ground, excuse me, to lose his current numbers.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
I don't think his numbers can possibly go down at this point. The people that are Team Trump are Team Trump. Right. They're going down on the fiery ship, whatever it is that Trump says to do.
Right, but I think he'd already started taking some of the independents and moderates.
The functional space he had to, because I mean, still like pre-debate, post-debate. I mean, it went from like I think it was like in most of the polling that was out there, it was like 51-48.
Yeah, it was pretty much split.
And like there's a couple of different people that do it, and like, okay, well, here's the popular vote at 52 to 47 or whatever, never equals 100. But realistically, it's like, forget the popular vote. This is how we see the electoral college breaking down.
A lot of people are just focused on like 13 swing states, right, or like 8.
Kamala's did 2 stops in North Carolina today.
Yeah.
And so whatever the map is that the Harris team thinks they need to win, those are the states they're focusing on. Where Trump's out in Nevada and Arizona right now.
Yeah, I think he did a speech in California too, but
just to stop and because he was close by or something. I don't know. Anyway, whatever. Yeah. They're like, and so, and a lot of the people that do the electoral college version of the stuff, it's like, you've got Pennsylvania, Arizona, Michigan, Wisconsin, Georgia, North Carolina. Nothing else really matters.
Right.
Which
some
I guess
people say Florida could be a toss-up, but it'll still most likely go.
Yeah, that's a red state. Yeah. Although there's some weird stuff. I mean, like it's going to be interesting because I think the transition into that crazy story. I think having the ballot initiative is interesting, and how that's going to affect other stuff on the ballot. I would think that in a lot of states, because what was it, Oklahoma?
Was there Florida ballot?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's Amendment 4, not Amendment 4, like whatever. It's something.
Yeah, I think it is. I think
something number 4. I don't remember if it's Amendment 4 or ballot item 4. Yeah. But like in a lot of states that are traditionally red states, I want to say it was Oklahoma or Kansas had one last year.
I think Kansas,
where it was like a general election ballot for a lot of different stuff going on in the state that included an abortion ballot initiative. And the interesting takeaway from it is Republicans still won a lot of the seats that they traditionally win. But the the
referendum or whatever,
right? Whatever the referendum was to expand abortion rights, passed like a lot.
Yeah,
so it's clear. Like so, the moral of the story is it's clear that even Republicans, even pro-life Republicans, aren't cool with like a 6, 8, 12-week ban. Like it's 16, 20 weeks or so.
I think it was the state that Sarah Huckabee Sanders is governor of. I think that might have been where it was.
Yeah, I don't remember. But the thing is that referendum passed, expanding abortion rights, but the Republicans still won a lot of seats.
Yeah,
and so Florida. I think my guess is Florida will act similarly. Possibly. Republicans will still win a bunch of stuff, but that referendum's going to pass. Now, did a little digging into it. I still don't know the right answer on how exactly, I mean, the Election Commission does the verification. So if you hadn't heard the story already, I don't like some of the phrasing I've heard on it. This one, this headline from AP, police are questioning Florida voters about signing an abortion rights ballot petition. So it seems to me, at least, in both this version of the story and some other places I've seen some stuff on it, is that there is a verification process that the Election Commission does when receiving a petition of this kind. And that verification process is a little more straightforward, where literally Sam P. Smith signs the petition. We go find his registration with his name and address and signature on it. As long as it's, reasonably close signature, that's verified. And moving on. And that's the process. And over 1 million of these signatures came in, so there's a lot of verification. That process had already passed in this Florida one, as far as I understand it. And there's some people are challenging that they didn't verify them very well. I still don't know what the technical legal process is. It's like, okay, Election Commission did their thing. There's definitely been, it says in the story, there are cases that when they went out digging, and I don't know, it's not clear in the story whether it's when the police went out digging or whether it was when the Election Commission was doing their verification process, but there were a number of dead people who signed the petition.
Yeah.
Now, it doesn't say anything about how many, it just says there were some. That implies to me that it wasn't a significant number. They got like 1 million plus signatures. They only needed 800,000 to get the ballot thing passed, or whatever was the rules on it. So it was in their excess. It was in their margin of excess that shouldn't make a difference at the end of the day. But okay, you're verifying these. You're finding dead bodies. I think we need to look a little harder than just the quick glance over that the Election Commission does. I don't know what the process is past that. If there is a process past that. End of the day here, election commissions are partisan bodies. Now, it's odd that a Republican strong partisan body and an election commission in Florida is letting things happen if they don't want them to happen, and they're making some weird end around to try to undo things. That's kind of odd to me. Like if the Republicans are the majority of the state legislature, I'm pretty sure Florida's election commission is a majority of Republicans. And if they wanted to do some greasy shit, you do it there. I would think. You don't wait till the election commission passes it and then go and try to re-verify. So anyway, the complaint is, and not an unreasonable complaint, that police coming and knocking on your door saying, hey, did you sign this thing? Is intended to be an intimidation to get those people to say no, maybe, and then not go out and vote. Like that's the implied goal by at least, what was it, NAACP? Who was it in there?
I can't remember. I got only about halfway through it. I pretty much just looked at the headline and I was like, man, it just thought it sounded kind of odd that I could see it being perceived as possible voter intimidation. But
Florida Democratic Party Chair Nikki Fried. Ron DeSantis has repeatedly used state power to interfere with citizen-led process to get reproductive freedoms on the ballot. This is their latest desperate attempt before Election Day.
That was the Democratic Party chair.
The Democratic Party Chair, Nikki Fried. I'm trying to find it. A million Floridians about state cross party lines. Director of the Yes on 4 campaign, Lauren Brenzel, but the state will. Lauren Brenzel, quote: "The state will stop at nothing to keep in place their near total anti-abortion ban." Speaking at a presser on Monday, DeSantis defended police visiting homes and a separate move by state health agency to create a website targeting their ballot thing, saying both are aimed at making sure November's vote is fair. DeSantis signed into law in 2022, creating a state police force dedicated to investigating voter fraud and election crimes. Voter fraud is rare, typically occurs in isolated incidences, and generally it is detected. He said elections...
I'd be curious to look at that state's website or whatever they created.
Yeah. DeSantis said election police, so it's a new body, or at least a new action group within the police, the state police as it exists, This is election police. This is a separate entity from the election commission and the state police force, whatever the Tennessee or Florida state.
Yeah, I think they have state police.
Yeah, every state. We have the TBI, Tennessee Bureau.
We don't have state police.
What is the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation?
They're federal officers. They're
T-
the state federal officers, yes, but they're different than every.
They are state police.
They're different.
Okay.
States have their own FBI. They're basically from their own FBIs, but they're different than
What is the FBI?
federal police.
It is the country's police. Yes.
Right.
Anyway, sorry. That's an aside. We could. I don't want to. Don't derail me now. Anyone who quote, anyone who submitted a petition that is a valid voter, that is totally within their rights to do so. DeSantis said, quote, we are not investigating that. What they are investigating is fraudulent petitions. We know that this group did submit on behalf of dead people. So I rescind my prior statement. DeSantis said there's dead people on the list. There was no verification in that. There's no verification in the story, at least. Where is the part that's I didn't get into this for all that. Nebraska is the one that we were talking about a second ago. Yeah, I'm not finding the quote from whatever. Yeah. But anyway, so the implication is that this is a way to intimidate people who may have signed the petition into not voting for it, which I kind of get. Like, I get it, truly do. I hate any I always joke about how I avoid the cops like a plague unless I'm paying them. I don't want to talk to them. It's the only time I want to talk to them, when I'm negotiating payment. And so like I get it. If an officer came to my door and then knocked on my door and started asking me questions about stuff I was saying on the podcast about elected officials, especially if it's negative against their boss. So Knox County Sheriff's Office comes in here and is like, did you say on your podcast that Spengler was a dipshit? Well, not until I just made this theoretical story up on the spot. But yes, I guess I did. And it's like, they could say, okay, thanks for letting us know, and leave. I don't know how anybody would not take that as some sort of implied threat. It's like, just making sure we know where you live and where you're doing, and we know who you are, and we hear what you're saying about us.
Right.
That's an implied threat to me. It's a very subtle, but implied threat nonetheless. So I get that. And so, I don't know. I think it's gross.
That's what I was like I said, I'm not familiar with the process at all.
Right. Because
it makes sense, like you said, that it's going to go to the Election Commission. Like I said, we've talked about that before, that they do make any kind of criminal referral they make to the district attorney.
Well, but it's not even that, though. It's like, because Chris Davis told me, correct me if I'm wrong, you know how to get a hold of me, but if I recall correctly, Chris Davis told me on multiple occasions that if there is a complaint, and when somebody, when anybody comes to him saying, I think something was weird here, he says, take your evidence to the DA's office.
Oh, okay.
So if I said, hey,
he
Chris.
just kind of directs them. They don't actually make the referral.
Right. Something's wrong here. And Chris is like, that ain't my job.
Right.
Go talk to the DA about it. If she wants to take this case, go ahead.
I administer the elections, but.
Right. Because, and it kind of makes sense because, it's his job.
Right.
There is no logical way that he would be impartial in investigating himself and his staff and his team, theoretically.
Right.
And so it doesn't make sense to put him in the or to put him, as the lead investigator into his own team. So again, I don't know. I got some questions. I don't really quite understand it, but I do recall from conversations with Chris on certain election items that he often said the phrase of you take that to the DA's office and they can decide to investigate and press charges from there.
Yeah.
But it's press charges at that point, and if the DA's office is investigating, I would assume KPD and Knox County Sheriff's Office will be part of that investigation.
It's a federal crime.
Including up to and including a KPD detective is going to be like, hey man,
right,
we're looking into this because the DA wants to know what's going on. Tell me about it. Well, that's a cop showing up on my door for an election item. Is that therefore interpreted automatically as an intimidation thing? Maybe. Right. I'm not disagreeing with that part of it. I'm just saying but it still also lends into this which is this weird dichotomy backwards world that we're living in right now. It's like the Democrats are pro-cop all of a sudden. Because they're or anti-cop, pro-cop, I don't know. That's what I'm saying. It's this weird thing. Is it not? Is that not somewhat anti-cop for the implication to be if you have to deal with a police officer, that is an intimidating situation? That's not at least implicitly saying that cops are here to hassle you?
No.
No.
You think that's what the article is saying? The article is more pointing at, too, since I guess they're pointing their finger at, they think
They're saying the
the
Republicans,
DeSantis,
right? The state Republicans are using their intimidation tools to go out there and scare you into voting their way. That's the gist of the article, as I take it.
yeah.
And so, if you're the chair, the Miss Fried that was talking in that article a number of times, saying that, you know, DeSantis is using his goons are the police, to intimidate people, that infers that, according to her, that the police are goons. And they're the intimidation team.
I think you're reading way too far into it.
Okay, let's move on then. What else is going on? Got some comptroller action in Farragut High School. Why don't you tell me what's going on with that?
Looks like they opened up an investigation into, I think there's a booster club that has been giving, I guess, undocumented. I guess you're not allowed to give gifts. But I think the total was close to like $5,000.
I got a little deeper into the band one. I didn't get into the coaches one very far.
Yeah, but apparently there's at least 2 or 3 coaches that actually work for the school system. But I guess if you're an employee of the school system, they have laws for the district employees. You're not allowed to take gifts, basically.
Right, and they got a pretty little chart. So in the chart, you have Knox County school employees, head coach, and 3 assistant coaches.
Yeah. And one of the weird things was, I think they said it's as recent as this year that each player had to pay like a $300 or it might have been like $600 fee to play, which
like
is
equipment
illegal.
and stuff.
I forget what they listed it as, but it's basically like a fee to play, and they're like, "No, that's illegal. Like you don't pay to play a school sport like that."
I would like to know more about that, because I had to pay for band. I had to pay a special a sub fee for middle school band.
I think it's there. I think that they have to. I think you're right. But that's something they have to like hold into a fund, like for the band or for this. If it was for that, they put it in like a fund that kind of the school has oversight over to put it.
Oh, so they're saying this $600 fee or whatever goes
right. Yeah, they went somewhere. It went to whoever was collecting it, but it didn't actually.
But
go
it was
in.
not inside the school system.
Correct.
Who was handling these funds? Okay,
right.
That makes more sense.
I'm pretty sure.
I got really excited. I thought I was about to sue the school system for like the $75 I paid in extra fees.
Well, that goes into the actual functioning of the band program.
Right, that goes into some sort of internal fund that pays for equipment and
bus transportation,
tournament entries.
I didn't realize how much bus transportation is just going to football games.
Right, and replacement pieces and parts and instrument fixes and that Rush fan coming out every once in a while.
Yeah,
but I don't know if they do that anymore.
One of them closed. Rush's or Lunsford's.
Rush's closed. Lunsford's still around. They're weird spots now. So anyway, over a 2-year period, the head coach got $250 and $500 in 23 and 24 respectively. Assistant coaches got $100 apiece and $250. Some other coach who is not an employee got $750 in 23 and $150. So the highest illegally paid member of the coaching staff is a non-employee assistant coach. And then whatever totals like $3,500. For our Knox County employees, so the funds should have been given to the Board of Ed, so tax and other deductions. So the comptroller's mad that they didn't get to collect their payroll taxes. Comptroller also found the club used at least $495 to buy coaches and themselves questionable gifts, including cigars, a bottle of wine, $100 gift card, and a gold necklace. Okay.
Yeah, there it was. Club, $600 operational fees.
Are not allowed to do fees. Must be accounted for by the school and deposited into the school's bank account. Okay, what you're saying. So they have to pay straight into the school. Okay. That makes sense on that one. Then we shift over to the same high school's band. This one's much more like this one's crazy to me.
Yeah.
Did you look at the receipt?
No, I didn't look at the fine print. No.
Oh.
I was like, I wonder what they ate.
Look at this receipt.
4 bisque lobsters, sea bass, 2 Caesar salads. There's 3 sauce red wine.
So it's a red wine sauce 3 times.
Yeah.
4 lobster bisque soups. But I mean, here's the shit, bro. Look at this: 2 fillets at $85 a piece.
Damn.
5 fillet. That's 2 9-ounce fillets. 5 6-ounce fillets at
Horseradish sauce is $5 a piece.
at $50-something a piece. A New York strip, prime New York strip, $85. A lamb meal of some sort for $52, with a chimichurri sauce.
Chimichurri.
Chimichurri sauce for $5. 2 ribeyes for $75 a piece. A half chicken for $32. A sea bass for $50. 2 mac and cheese. OH, which I'm assuming is some sort of side. Yeah, that's said as that's denoting it's because it's mac and cheese, Brussels sprouts, mushrooms, mashed potatoes, carrots. OH, those are sides with some meals. So the side of mac and cheese at this wonderful restaurant is $13 each. Brussels sprouts are $15. Side of mushrooms is $15. Side of mashed potatoes for $14.
I mean, it's Opryland like hotel restaurant.
Old Hickory Steakhouse in the Opryland Hotel and Convention Center.
Yeah.
Whopping total of $1,147 with a auto gratuity of $229.40 with an additional gratuity from the band director of $123 for a total tab of $1,500 for 11 students and a couple of teachers and some non-students.
I was thinking it was 11 people total.
Because it goes on to say something about how the band director paid $150 back for 2 people whom ate that were not associated, that were like a kid's parents or like an assistant, like the assistant band director's girlfriend or something like that. I don't know exactly what they didn't say who those 2 people were.
Yeah, but apparently turned this in and kind of, I guess, tried to imply that like, oh, this is for the whole band.
Paid for it with the band's account, which they could
No, I think
do.
it was with the school's credit card.
Right, but it's out of their. But he allocated it
account
to the band's account.
Gotcha.
Because the fund that it came out of or whatever was supposed to be for the band, and so the argument from the comptroller's office is, you put this when you do something for the band, it has to be for the whole band, not the partial band. Yeah. Now, kudos, really, it's 11 members that made the state, made all state. Like it was a celebration because they went to because this is inside baseball for band dorks out there. There are regional and statewide and then national band competitions where you go as a band and you play against other bands and judges say which band is the best band or whatever. But inside a lot of those, you have individuals that will go and do auditions. And you audition I don't know. I'm trying to think of a comparable for non-band dorks out there. It's like a Pro Bowl, basically.
Yeah.
If you're into football, you make the Pro Bowl team, except you have to do a special audition to make it. And it's a big deal. If you're good enough to make the Tennessee State honors band or whatever it's called, all state band, that's usually scholarship level. You're usually capable if you're going to go to a Tennessee college and do some music stuff, you should be able to get a little scholarship if you can get to that all-state level of band. You're good enough to at least be in the running for some scholarship. So it's it's a big deal.
I think it mentions they had done that and it was okay a year or 2 prior, but then the boosters or whoever changed their bylaws and basically said, hey, we're not going to do this anymore, but in a way to reward the students, each student that wins is still going to get a $100 gift card to help cover cost. Right. And I think the band boosters or whoever would still cover the hotel stay and transportation.
Right. I mean, I think I don't know. It's a tough one because I do think it is a good thing to encourage these kids with some incentives.
Right.
I ain't mad at it as one of those things. Come on now, get after it. This is a big deal. But again, it's still a little
I mean, if I was in the band and I was like, wait, you guys spent how much? That's great that you guys got to go to and go do this stuff, but why is all of our band fees paying for all your dinners too?
Right. You said that they got the gift cards.
I think it mentions that they had kind of changed their rules that in years past they had kind of done a form of this. I don't know if they would have gone to a fancy steakhouse like this, but I think they would cover like a meal or something like that.
Right, but with a gift card per student to help pay for offset some of the cost of doing
for
this
the
stuff.
food
Right.
cost at least. Yeah, they basically got a $100 gift card for the couple days they're there. I don't know how long they actually go there for. They're there at least overnight, so at least 2 days.
Right. Right, which again, not disreasonable. So if I'm understanding you correctly, though, so these kids got both. That's the real problem at play here.
No.
This happened this year. If they started doing that gift
Right.
card thing, then they got the gift card.
I guess they did this in lieu of it. I can't
Oh.
remember if it mentioned. It mentioned that they changed the rules to kind of prevent things like this from happening. They were like, hey, we can't be taking them out to dinner anymore. We're just going to give each kid a $100 gift card. And there was something about a vendor, too.
Yeah.
Like a former teacher or former band director.
The highest value purchase under investigation was $43,936 paid to a vendor in March 2023 and May 2024 that the band director was employed by, which the Comptroller's Office states the conflicts of interest. The purchase included band equipment, contracted audio engineering, and choreography services. The school had previously made payments to the vendor for similar purchases before the band director was hired by the vendor in March 23. However, the report states that the band did not obtain 3 written quotes as it should have for purchases exceeding that much. Like, how did they get the... Because, like, I was digging through the school board's agenda a couple weeks ago, and I had never paid attention to it before, but my kid's middle school is doing Elf Jr. as their musical this year.
Didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah. But it's basically just a musical version of Elf. It's pretty self-explanatory. But you had to buy that. You can't just you could probably find the script and stuff like that and do it, but that's a copywritten material.
Right.
You have to buy the rights to use it. And so there was a whole list of agenda items on the school board of the different schools' musicals and stuff like that they wanted to do. And it was basically the Beard Middle School has permission to buy Elf Jr. Like, that was the agenda item, and it had like the costs and all the different stuff on it.
Yeah.
And the rights to do Elf Jr. is not a significant sum. And so I'm a little confused on how they got permission, because it's not. It should have gone through the school board if it was that big. Of what they said, it was 2 different purchases totaling $43,000. So at least one of them had to exceed the $10,000 or $25,000 threshold that has to get permission from the school board.
Yeah.
If not both of them.
I don't know. I don't know if it came out of their fund, if maybe they don't have to have school approval, if it's coming out of their particular accounts.
I don't know. It's a good question.
I don't know. Yeah.
Well, Jennifer's not a school board rep anymore. I can't ask her. She doesn't know anything. All the memories, they erased her memory on the way out, she told me.
They got that light from Men in Black. They're like, phew,
Yeah.
look into the light.
You spent the last 4 years having a good time. It was a blast. The school board was the greatest job you've ever had. Which, in all the wrong ways, I think Jennifer would actually say, yeah, she was the greatest thing she was ever a part of. Actually, I don't know her history that well to say that, but I would say she would overall feel positive about what she got to do while she was on school board, as much as she was certainly frustrated by some of the politics that is the game that was that job.
And it was worthwhile.
Yep. So the next stage of the I'm pissed off that they're building a building between me and my river people is going on this coming week. If you've seen that story,
No.
we talked about it before. That it's currently a little ground level parking lot on Nayland Drive, right there basically under Henley Street Bridge. If you're coming up from the south side, coming into town on Henley Street, it's what's his name? Market Street? No, I don't remember what the name of the road is. I had to pull up a map. But like I used to do it when I was living on the south side going to campus. As soon as you cross the bridge, you take a right. That's where the old Lord Lindsay used to be. If you remember where that.
I never went there. I don't know who that was.
Random reference. I never actually went inside. I just happened to drive by it and noticed, oh, that's where that place is. Anyway, so you take it right there, you take another right, and it like drops down from Henley Street Bridge level to river level.
Yeah.
Like super steep. And then comes out and drops onto Nayland Drive right there. Well, like they said, there's a small parking lot down there, and this developer has bought that piece of land, and he's going to build what is essentially a 17-story building on that parking lot. Now, that 17-story building is going to be like 6 or 7 stories tall at Henley Street level, but it goes all the way down. But essentially, all the houses and buildings that are currently there that have river view are going to lose their river view, and they're pissed.
Yeah.
But it's not outside of code. It's all sorts of stuff. Like there is no legal reason why this building shouldn't get built. There's people trying to challenge its like codes and zones. Apparently, inside the city, inside the city. So a separate districting circle inside the city basically has what they call a certificate of appropriateness for the building of new structures, which is a weird, just a weird thing in general to me. Like the premise of the premise of the thing at all is fucking stupid to me, but it exists. But everything about this guy's original design was inside the rules of the certificate of appropriateness requirements.
Yeah.
Like it can't be, I don't know. Which I mean, again, like I think it's dumb. Like I think that's like the idea is dumb. Like I remember making the joke about like if UT is going to build that entertainment center on the G10 garage between Nayland and Thompson, they should do a sphere or something cool at least, right? Just don't build another red brick building that we have 10,000 of on campus. And a bunch of people on the Compass Colloquy were like, "No, don't make it ugly." And it's like, it's not ugly to me. It'd be fun. It'd be interesting. It's something to look at. It's something different. Like, why would we want to build another red brick cube? We have 50,000 of those.
Checker it white and orange.
Something. Have a little fun with it. Let's get excited. Like, again, like I think it hasn't aged well, but I think the Civic is a cool looking building, and I think that old Marriott over by the Basketball Hall of Fame is a cool looking building. I think, like I said, I don't think it has aged well.
I don't know if they're redoing the outside. I think they have finally said that it's going to be student housing or apartment complex, one or the other, or a mixture of both.
I think it's going to be an apartment complex, but they're focused on getting students as residents.
Yeah. I'm assuming they're going to do something to the outside, but it's going to be really expensive to paint the outside.
I don't know, like I said, I mean, like, it's neat. It's interesting looking. It's not just a boring square in the sky.
Right.
I like that. I think that's cool. Like I think that stupid basketball that's on the side of the Ladies Hall of Fame is kind of obnoxious. In and of itself, I think it's obnoxious, but I like that. It's different. It's something.
It's the Women's Basketball Hall of Fame. It's the only one in the U.S.
Right, but it's got some signature to it. Like talking about Hall of Fame and stuff like that. Like the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Have you ever been?
No, I've just seen it.
I've never been, but I've seen pictures of it too. Like that is a crazy cool looking building.
Yeah, it looks like the Louvre.
Yeah, but it's like out over the water too.
Yeah, I think it's like right on the edge.
Like it's on a big like the front end of the building is on land, but like the back end of the building is out over the water on like these big pylons coming out of the Lake Erie, I guess.
Yeah,
and it's like that's freaking cool. Like it is like that is like something you get a little tipsy, maybe get a little high, and start scribbling on a piece of paper. Like, yep, that's what we're building. And somebody goes, "Okay, let's do it." I love that shit. I think that's cool.
Yeah.
I think that should be. I don't want to turn Knoxville into Vegas. Don't get me wrong. I don't want like everything to be neon and bright and whatever.
But KMA has a good aesthetic appearance to it.
Do it.
The KMA has good. I like the look of it from the outside.
Yeah. I think, and again, it's a different looking building. Like there's some of the stuff that's got that old feel to it that I think is cool too. Don't get me wrong. Like I think the AJ building is a cool looking old building. All brick and whatever, but I think it's still a kind of neat looking building. Like I don't particularly like the First Tennessee building. I kind of like the old BB&T building. I guess it's Truist now. The one that's rounded.
Not sure. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I kind of like that one because it's got some shape to it. But like the First Tennessee building is just a rectangle. Yeah. Just a big mirrored rectangle in the sky.
I'll give it credit for being mirrored at least.
Yeah. So anyway, the point is like like it's about like the TVA towers which is now Knox County Schools and UT's office buildings. Like that's a boring looking building. It's just gonna be.
I like the front of it. I guess if you're looking at it from like the Market Square stage or whatever, looks like you'd have like a big fountain. I think it does have a big fountain. It's kind of tiered up.
Yeah,
I kind of like the look of that from. That
I still
side
don't like. I don't like. I have a problem. Like I don't like that UT. I don't like that UT and Knox County Schools are in there. But I guess some tenant's better than no tenant.
Yeah,
I'm curious about that. That's one of those things. Like we talked about it a couple weeks ago. Like like there's some tax.
I got it for really cheap. Great.
You're right. There's some tax incentives and some other stuff that some different people are putting in place, are talking about putting in place, whether it's federally or locally. And I don't remember if it was New York or something that we were talking about it specifically, whether it's like, it's a big deal to try to retrofit some of these, what were office buildings into residential.
Yeah.
Which I think is part of the problem with that TVA tower. That could have been a great giant apartment complex, but it would have been very expensive to retrofit it into, or another hotel or something like that. It's apparently a fairly expensive exchange to make that swap. But again, Knox County, I don't know. I've got a particular bone to pick with Knox County offices and storage places and stuff like that where they are, because they have two in the holler that I hate, because they're the real ugly ones down there. They've got the engineering building, which is just like a bunch of trucks and all their road signs and all their street signs, and it's just like a storage thing in a parking lot. And then you've got the Knox County Schools
depot.
Storage and depot and stuff like that down there too. And it's just like,
It looks like an old red brick school.
Right? No, this one's like a just bad, like weird beige.
I thought the depot was red brick. Maybe.
The depot was. They tore one of those buildings down a couple weeks ago.
Okay, maybe I'm thinking of the old depot. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, I'd like to get those out of there, just because I don't want, you know how I feel about government offices. They don't need to be on what would be potentially expensive property if they don't have to be. That would be my take on it. Get them out of town.
It's getting attacked by the yoga balls.
So anyway, that guy's going to build his building, and I'm excited about it. Go get after it, son. Make it so.
Yeah. Just get it done.
I just I don't like that lot had been there empty, and that dude probably got that lot for relatively cheap considering where it sits. Because it's an awkward lot and it's weird. It's like, look, man, you should have bought it. Like the Chodo people that were super anti-poor people and didn't want a underprivileged housing complex going on out in Chodo. Their response was go pitch a fit at the county commission meeting or whatever. But then they got a couple people together and bought the piece of property off of the developer that wanted to do it. And he's like, well, not going to build my thing then. See you guys. I think that's, I don't necessarily like that as the result, but it's like, it's his piece of land. If he wants to build on it, he should build on it. If he wants to sell it, he should sell it.
Maybe that's why they're fucking with Farragut right now.
His neighbors shouldn't be the one. His neighbors shouldn't be the one to tell him what he can and can't build on it. It's his piece of property. And if his neighbors don't want him to build it on there, then they can buy it from him and they can build whatever they want on it. That's kind of the result that happened in that particular one. All right, so speaking of Farragut and other schools and stuff like that, but a quite specifically crazy week in the history of my parenting a kid at Knox County Schools experience.
Yeah.
There were at least a dozen kids have been arrested now up to this morning.
Seriously? Mm-hmm. I thought it was just like 3 or 4. I saw there was, I think Blount County, had some threats.
Right, there's an Anderson County one. There was an Oak Ridge County. The Oak Ridge police arrested a kid too, but just in Knox County.
Some of it was a couple people that had made multiple threats just across the county at multiple schools.
Right.
Because it was like a 7th grade girl at West Valley. I saw was one that
had
got
like
arrested.
a list of like 10 schools. I don't remember who had the list. It's weird. Like, it's one of the things. It's minors. I get it. There's a bunch of like privacy rules and stuff because it's minors. But man, I don't know. I don't know. Like it.
Roommate with that was like, he's like, I think that's all like kind of coordinated. I was like, I don't think these kids really talk to each other. I was like, this is all across the county.
It's all social media, but it was all social media driven, and so I think it kind of was. I think it was like, I think there's a couple kids that are getting in trouble right now that saw it in their newsfeed, whatever TikTok or whatever it is they were on, and said, "Holy shit! Did you guys see this?" and shared it.
No, I don't think so.
And it got traced back to them that it was like, you're out there, putting this threat out. It's like, no, I was just. Like,
no, I don't think so.
I that is one of the things that I think that is what a couple.
I don't think you can be arrested for sharing something like that.
I don't,
unless you are the one that's making the threat.
I don't know, because this is a very touchy subject, man. The threat at a school is a very touchy subject. And I think that the standard rule from Knox County Schools, KPD, Knox County Sheriff's Office, both mayors and all that stuff, the standard rule on this is going to be to overreact, not to underreact.
Yes, but I don't think you can criminally go after someone for simply sharing something.
Okay, we'll find. Hopefully, we'll find out some more information soon on that one. It doesn't really matter. And again,
unless they took that thing and just copy and pasted it, made it look as if they sent
posted it. Yeah, I don't know. That's a good. That's a valid point. I don't know how TikTok or Instagram or any of those work anyway, so I don't know what it looks like to a viewer on the other side.
Right. I'm just saying, I don't think they would have been arrested unless they'd actually made the threat, because there's nothing else they can really arrest them for.
But actually made the threat such a weird. That's my problem with it, because we were Columbine kids. We were in high school when Columbine happened.
Right.
I remember distinctly the shift. Like that year, that was our junior year, right beginning of our senior year or right beginning of our junior year?
Junior year.
Because it was first semester, whatever year it was. Because we were in band, and it was early that year. Because it was shortly out of band camp.
Yeah,
We were still
spring of 99.
No,
Spring of 98.
it was fall.
No, it happened on 420.
Oh, that's right. You're right. So it was spring of 98. So yeah, it was
pretty sure we were
right. Happened in our junior year, but like the incident that I recall from a friend of ours was in band camp, early band of our senior year in 99 or 99 2000.
Right.
But that was the shift. Like the joke that got her in trouble.
Right, but that was her making that joke. I don't remember what the specific joke was.
It was in poor taste. Don't get me wrong, but that joke a year before, nobody batted an eyelash at.
Probably not. Yeah.
And poor judgment on her part. I'm not trying to give her an excuse out of this or whatever, but it's like, man, like I don't know, like because I talked to my dad earlier this week, and he's like, they should go after these kids as hard as they can. It's like I get what you're saying, Dad, and I'm not necessarily disagreeing with you, but I remember. And because I know this person, and I knew that person well in particular in our...
How much OSS did she get?
I guess a whole big mess. She had to do a public apology. I don't remember.
Yeah, she had to write a letter to everybody.
And there was some weird, like she had to, at least for the band's sake, she had to speak in front of the whole band.
I don't remember that.
I do remember that. That was torture.
That might have been when I wasn't in the band.
It's our senior year, which you weren't in band our senior year.
No.
And then... Right, but there was some concern over some of her transcript issues and her college going on. She ended up working through most of that stuff, but it was a big deal for the rest of the year for her, because she was on educational scholarship. She was planning on going to she was going out of state. She ended up going to Florida State, right? I think she went to Florida State. She ended up going out of state to a better than average school or whatever you want to call it that ain't cheap. And there was definitely some scholarship in play that got moved around, and she had to do a lot of work to try to get all that stuff back. Yeah. And she did, and kudos to her, and kudos to whatever it was that the system was at time that gave her the opportunity to at least get her life back in front of her in that short window of time that was her senior year. But holy shit, yeah. And so it's like, Dad, I don't disagree with you. Like, this sucks. This pisses me off as a father. My son is. And there's two parts to it. It's like, my son is legitimately afraid here. Like, there is some fear in what he's saying here, but then he's also trying to play that shit up because he doesn't want to go to school. And it's like, okay, which is it? Are you actually afraid of this thing, or do you see an opportunity to skip a day of school?
Right.
See an opportunity to skip a day of school, you fucking asshole. You're going to be one of the 52% of kids that goes to school on Wednesday this week. Like, the turnout was terrible. Tuesday, Wednesday... They were down.
I was wondering. I was thinking about that, and I was like, I thought it was a federal holiday because I remember seeing like court cases on TV. And I was like, I thought this was designated a national holiday.
9/11?
Yeah.
No.
I thought it had been.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's like it has some designation, but it's not like an official. It's not
Is it not even like a bank holiday?
It's not a yeah, probably. I don't know. They take everything. I did see a something heating and cooling. 9/11 repair special, which was obnoxious.
Well, that's weird.
I'm surprised there are not more of them, honestly. I think it was a Chappelle. Somebody made the joke. It's like it was years ago. It's like, just wait, guarantee you, 9/11 is going to become like a bed and appliance holiday. Just watch.
Freedom sale.
And it's like, but like seriously though, like Memorial Day is always a huge blockbuster sale weekend thing. And it's like, what are we talking about here, guys?
Yeah, but Memorial Day was always kind of weird because it always falls right before school starts back for a lot of people, right kind of in the summer.
I'm just saying, like the day, like,
I know.
It is literally in the name of the day. It's not even like a, like Labor Day.
It's probably something that started years ago. Is maybe like an appreciation to like veterans.
Maybe. Well, that's Veterans Day. That's a different day,
right? Or for service members.
Right, I get it. I'm just saying.
And they were like, well, shit, like they're getting all this business because they're doing sales. Like, we're going to do a Memorial Day sale too, yeah.
Right, and then right. You can't put that cat back in the box, if you will.
Right. Maybe that's how it started. I don't know.
But so, but it was crazy. Like, it's a crazy week for that stuff, and so it's like, and then it's like the whole bunch of complex about being a parent, having to deal with this, try to figure out how to do it. It's like, one, don't be stupid, don't be dumb.
There's like 3 different school shootings, like 2 back to back. Then like a day apart. Then
this week there was the Georgia one, but that was the week before. That was late the week before.
Right, and the day after was Baltimore.
Oh yeah, the Georgia one's kind of gross. Like the Georgia one, like that dad should get hung as well. I don't disagree with that.
Yeah, I was arguing with my roommate about it.
I did get in an argument with my dad about Second Amendment stuff that I'm actually kind of proud of my argument with my dad. I don't think he took it well. He lied to me to get off the phone. He's like, I got to go take the car. You know what? That's a lie. I just don't want to talk anymore. I was like, okay.
At least he was honest.
I appreciate that. Yeah. Ouch.
Yeah.
But
I agree. Yeah, that was a
like if there's
situation.
if there's a known and you put that in your kid's hand, yeah, you got some responsibility there for sure.
Yeah, it wasn't something he bought like a couple years prior. It was like,
right.
I bought that last Christmas.
Right, but it's also that the police had been out and talked to him about what was going on and was that there was concerns in this situation.
Yeah, I think he told them. He was like, they're going away.
Yeah, so that's kind of gross. But
I don't know if I guess it's a good thing that they at least were able to get him. He didn't shoot himself or shoot anybody else.
Oh, he's still alive?
Yeah.
No, I didn't hear that part of it. I mean, it's not, like, honestly,
he and his dad were arraigned like back to back in court.
I mean, it's the saddest truth that is the reality of the situation. I don't it doesn't affect me anymore.
No, it was the one in Baltimore. I think that was when I was telling you that was kind of reigniting the debate about questioning children without their parents, questioning minors without their parents. But it's also kind of reignited the debate. And there are some schools that have kind of gone like back and forth and kind of changed their own policies as far as having cell phones in school. Where there are some schools that didn't allow it, but now they're switching to they want to allow it because they want the kids to be able to contact their parents in the case of something happening.
Like I've been debating.
But you ask a lot of teachers, and they're like, "No, I don't want cell phones in school." Like when you guys finally like outlawed schools in the classroom, I was actually able to these kids are starting to pay attention. Before
didn't matter.
A third of them were just on their phone or on their smartwatches for half the time.
Right.
And there was no way to stop it.
Right. Oh, I'm debating on whether I want to institute a family policy that it's going to break school policy or not. I kind of feel like I don't know. I don't if the way the kids describe it, maybe I'd need to talk to the school resource, the school security system about what the system is. But they've done active shooter drill, they've done fire drills, they do that stuff. But the active shooter one, I don't know if I don't know. I need to talk to them, and I need to talk to a tactical person who would actually do it from an independent lens. So they're not thinking it from the school lens, because there's a problem with it, because I don't like the idea of just lock yourself in the room and duck and cover. Just doesn't jive with me. Get the fuck out of there. Run off school grounds, run wherever you have to run. We'll pick you up off the side of the street later. We'll figure that part out. Just get the hell out of there. The idea of stay here, because to me it feels like the stay here is obliged because they need to be able to know where you are after this thing ends. I don't disagree with that being
it's part of that, and they're able to kind of more control the situation. They're able to kind of get the kids. They can at least put them in a corner. I mean, most of the walls in these schools
are solid walls. You're not going to shoot through. I mean, I don't know. And I guess so. The question is, are all the doors lockable to the point where you couldn't shoot through one? You can't shoot the lock off, that kind of stuff. Because if it's hide in the room and lock yourself in the room, and they can get in the room, then you're stuck in the room with the shooter.
It's probably possible, but I would say also in the heat of the moment like that, with 30 kids, got one teacher that's trying to kind of wrangle them as they're freaking out and possibly running in any direction.
But I don't know. I feel like, tactically speaking, I think that would be a harder thing to deal with as the attacker.
I mean, if the perpetrator's in the hallway, you've essentially just kind of given him access to that many more bodies. I don't know. I mean, you can go down different rabbit holes of different scenarios.
Yeah, well, maybe that's the question. Because the Georgia one, they did at least have an officer on site when it happened, when it went down too, and didn't stop it. I don't know. There's a lot of stuff. It's complicated.
Apparently, they were within 5 or 10 minutes. I think the mother had called the school and said, "Hey, you need to go find my son. Something's going on with him." Because I think he had texted her and basically "I'm sorry," and she knew okay,
that's something. Yeah.
Yeah.
We didn't burn the toast this morning. This is about something.
Right.
Yeah.
This is a goodbye, basically.
Yeah, that's rough. It's rough. It sucks. Again, there's
not a simple answer.
No, there's not. But back on our version of it with all the threat kind of stuff, I'm at a loss. I'm really okay. So on the more tactile, this is what we went through in our household kind of stuff and the interaction with me, my kids, and the school system through this was like I text Cat Bike and said, hey, are we going to get like a we got this shit under control kind of message at some point and there's no real threat? Or what's going on? Right. Like, we got an email that was very vague and nondescript and nonspecific. Like, a student, like the first email was like a student from the West Valley one. I think it was the West Valley student has been arrested. Of some or something like that. Like, it had a strong reference to there are more.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, do we know who the more? Like, I'm not asking for you to tell me who the more are, but do you know who they are? Or are you getting in contact with them so that we are sure that everybody involved in this threat is secured? Or, like, it was very unclear.
Yeah. And
it's like, you know, I don't blame parents. I'm not mad at parents. I'm mad at the school system for a separate part of that, but I don't blame parents for, fuck it, we're staying home. No big deal. I am a little mad that they immediately go into, here's a way, there's a couple of classes, at least for my kids, that they're like, we're not doing anything today. We're just going to push the lesson plan back a day. It's like, so I'm an asshole for forcing my kids to go to school now because a bunch of other kids decided to skip school. That goes back to one of my complaints that I go on about a lot, like the end of school year stuff that I've bitched about before.
Right.
It's like, if we have to have 180 days of education, then they better be 180 days of education, not 160 with 20 days of just farting around because you don't have anything else to do. If that's the case, then let's just do 160 days and use them. Why do we have 20 extra days built into waste? It just seems really dumb to me, and it really upsets me.
Yeah.
I don't like that. Like, it's become a norm that the Friday before spring break, they stop doing. They just take the day off.
Yeah,
it pisses me off. So anyway, that's the threats of school stuff. What else am I missing that went on this week? Mr. Jordan Love got hurt. I'm very upset about that. He may or may not play this weekend. I'm worried. In our sports ball news.
Yeah, I saw the Dolphins quarterback. I guess maybe this wasn't the first time he's got a concussion.
They need apparently,
I guess there had been calls prior to this that like, hey, maybe he should think about retiring. So I guess he had already had concussion protocols or something.
Not last year. He had a clean year last year, but the year prior he had like 3 or 4. It's a really gross one. Like, they changed a bunch of rules. Like, the NFL made a bunch of adjustments for what happened to him.
Oh, really?
Part of it's because he's an idiot. It's an overstatement. He's overly competitive. He doesn't take care of himself. He did, like what knocked him out last night. I watched it as it happened.
Just trying to pull Tebow and just do a lot more running.
Right. Well, because he is that style of quarterback, but he's gotten out of that habit and he's gotten better about it. He can run when he needs to, and it was a 4th and 5 late in the game. They're down 3 scores. They got to get this first down, and he gets the first down with change. But goes headfirst into the defender. The defender is actually that Hamlin guy who had the heart attack on the field a couple years ago.
So Buffalo guy?
Yeah. So that guy.
Wow.
So Tua goes headfirst into that guy's chest and breaks himself. Like, it was a clean tackle. There's nothing wrong. He didn't do it. The Hamlin guy didn't do anything wrong. But it's like, that's the guy that had a fucking heart attack on the field last season or season before last or whatever. So like, that was another level to that little action. But yeah, he's like Tua's been like, again, like you said, last year he had a pretty clean season, but the year before he had like 3, 2 in one game.
I don't keep up.
One that shouldn't have happened. Like, one that shouldn't have. There was one that he should have gotten pulled much sooner in the game. Like, it was one of those, like, he got up and I don't know how drunk is, like Max's wedding drunk is what he looked like. Like, me at Max's wedding is what he looked like, trying to get from where he got tackled to back into the play.
Yeah.
Like, just couldn't stand up straight, tripping over himself, falling over, all sorts of stuff. And they let him keep playing. And it's like, come on. And this was already after, like, concussions was a much bigger topic. This wasn't like 20 years ago. This was 2 years ago. And so I don't know. I don't have any ill will towards him personally or the Miami Dolphins for that matter. But yeah, he probably needs to call it a game. Which sucks because that team is pretty solid, but built around him. And so, for my Dolphin fans friend Tyler, I hear you, buddy. I'm sorry, buddy. You're going to have a bad year because he's not. I don't think he's coming back this year. And it's one of those, like, some of it was like, apparently, like, last year he bulked up a lot. Like, he had like 25 pounds, and had a clean year. And then over this offseason, he trimmed back down. And game 2 breaks himself. Sucks. But yeah, the Hamlin part was I thought was crazy. Just the fact that it had to be that guy. Like, I don't know. That's got to be a weird feeling to be that guy, because you were the guy that was laying almost dead on the field last season, and you're the guy now. You cause that on somebody else, and it's not really cause it. Nobody did anything wrong. It's just it's the way the game plays. But yeah, I watched that, and it was hard to it was pretty hard to watch, and I lost my bet because I needed the over, and without Tua, Miami wasn't scoring anymore.
Yeah. Did you look at one of those Nashville stories?
A little bit. I kind of perused the first one. I didn't watch the videos of it, but going back here where we got TBI agents raid Millersville Police Department, home of town's conspiracy cop. That's a weird sentence. I read that like 3 times before I actually figured out what they were saying.
Yeah.
So they invaded. The TBI raided. Wait, who's the TBI again?
Tennessee Bureau of Investigation.
So the Tennessee State Police Force. Check.
They're different.
TBI agents raid Millersville Police Department and the home of the town's conspiracy cop. That's what this headline should read.
No, it's comma. Yes. Town Police Department, so they raided the department.
Yeah, but that
comma,
also
and
it also kind of reads like it's that the police department is the home of not where he lives, but like the phrase of like I don't know what's like.
I get what you're saying.
Right, Neyland Stadium, home of the Tennessee Volunteers. That kind of thing. Right. Anyway, and so it was a weird little. I had a little issue with it. So, what was the actual chart? Like, what are they doing? Like, what was his thing?
I think the main was what I heard. He was basically using his access of people's records, but using it against political opponents.
Oh, it's that
kind of using his own. He was starting his own investigations into stuff.
It's that hack Phil Williams. He doesn't know anything.
Yeah. The second video was kind of crazy. Like he set up like some kind of like weird like task force and was like out doing like investigations with a bunch of people that weren't a part of any kind of like law enforcement, but he kind of had like this weird like crew that he was apparently. I think they were trying to track down like
gangsta shit,
child molesters or whatever. But it was basically like using his access to like federal criminal records and stuff.
To go fuck, that's fucking.
To kind of start his own like investigations, but then they also started like digging into his history, and apparently like he said he's been at these different police departments, and he's was some kind of like sergeant at a jail, and they did find that like he was a correctional officer at a jail, but like all of these like different departments that he supposedly like worked at kind of all have like different records of him. Like he got a job at one by saying he had records of working at another one, but that one didn't have any records of it.
Lying on your resume,
so
you son of a bitch.
Yeah, bunch of like falsification. But he's essentially, I think he's second in command to the sheriff.
Gotcha. After that weird headline, in Millersville, Tennessee Bureau of Investigation agents raided the Millersville Police Department on Wednesday, executing the search warrant as the criminal investigation into troubled agency enters dramatic new phase.
Apparently this has been ongoing for a while.
A team of agents is also seen executing a separate search warrant at the White House residence of department's conspiracy-minded Assistant Police Chief Sean Taylor. Like, I feel like White House is supposed to mean something, but I don't know what it means.
I don't know if that's what he calls it. I don't know. It's capitalized.
TBI spokesperson Susan Nilland says, I can confirm that the search warrant execution is underway at the Millersville Police Department as part of this ongoing investigation. Photos. Agents are also seen searching offices. TBI agents are going back and forth. Blah, blah, blah. So we don't know what the actual charges are in the story. 2 local DAs have previously confirmed that the TBI has been asked to investigate possible use of sensitive law enforcement data to dig up dirt on potential political enemies. There it is.
Yeah, botched child trafficking sex ring.
Craig Sawman Sawyer, founder of Veterans for Child Rescue, claimed the search is designed to cover up for a child sex trafficking in Tennessee. So TBI is covering up child sex trafficking, and these guys know the truth. What a handsome fella, Mr. Taylor.
Yeah, there's some funny videos of him on some crazy podcasts.
Oh, he'd be my kind of dude. I need some of that mess on here.
Yeah, I guess he went off the town mayor.
We got a bunch of dumb people in this country. All right,
Yeah,
so
it sounds like basically what they have on them, essentially, using sensitive data that he has access to, but it's abuse of that
yeah
information.
Hang him from the courthouse flagpole. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't. Yeah, it's abuse of power. Like that should be a pretty big deal. They should nail him put him in the stocks. Let us all throw our vegetables at him.
I bet he's a part of the constitutional sheriff's crew.
Is there a constitutional sheriff's crew? I don't know about that.
Yeah. I was curious if any of our guys went to it. They had a big meeting earlier this year, last year.
Tommy didn't go to it. I guarantee you that.
Right. I hope he's doing all right. I'm surprised he didn't step down.
Yeah, he's holding out.
Yeah. That's one of the worst.
Yeah, that's what they say.
Yeah.
So,
and an uncle passed from it.
It's no fun. It does not excuse him from anything that it does. Like if he's going to keep the job, he's got to deal with the tasks of the job. But I'm not going to make fun of him for being unhealthy. But I'm just saying, like if you're going to be the sheriff, you got to answer to what the sheriff has to answer to. So,
right.
And as far as I could tell, at least what everybody's talking about, he personally was on with Ryswick doing his best he can to help with the school situation that we were talking about this week.
Right.
Both KPD and Knox County Sheriff's Office had extra officers that they put at the schools all day for the couple of days. Yeah. Making their presence known, and so it does reopen the gun. I don't want to do that one. I'll leave our Second Amendment argument out of this episode. I don't need to go there.
Cool.
But it's a bummer. It's a problem. Like all right. So I'll go this way. This is where I did go with my dad outside of the Second Amendment. I was like,
can we not?
I'm not talking about guns.
Okay.
Can we?
Yeah, sure. I'm sorry. I cut you off.
I told you I wasn't going to talk about guns. I think the reality here is we have a hope issue. We have a lack of hope. We have a lack of foreseeable future. And I think this spans across many age demographics, but I think anybody 30 and under in this country right now, maybe even a little 35, maybe even 45, honestly, there's a lack of hope. I mean, we've been on we have a joint city county something task force that's like on overdoses. That's their whole thing, trying to reduce the number of overdoses.
That's all the former Surgeon General came in.
And they had a meeting on that. And, like pandemic, like full on pandemic stuff, like the suicide rate and overdose rate like went through the fucking roof. But it's settled back down. But like apparently I didn't know this one. Overdose deaths has like in 2010 surpassed vehicle fatalities. And has now not only surpassed it, but has like tripled it. I think in the United States a couple of years ago it was like 40,000 vehicular deaths in the United States, and we're well into six figures, like 120-ish thousand overdose deaths in the same time span. And it's like, look, man, like I'm not a psychologist, I'm not a doctor, I'm not any of those things, but it seems to me like the question that we refuse to have the conversation about is it's the why are we doing this? Like, why are people seeking that out? What are people trying to escape from? Because I think that's the universal known, right? That like drug abuse is usually escapism. Alcohol is one of the options too. Don't like our legal drugs that we are allowed to have or illegal ones. But I think for the most part it's a known that it's escapism. And it's like, well, why is life so terrible that everybody wants to escape from it all the time? And what can we do to quell that thing instead of going all these other different directions that we're going after?
I think it's kind of a mixture of, like you said, I think it is a kind of, maybe a loss of hope, but I think it's a little bit of a lack of ability to process feelings at times. There was just kind of like this cultural norm for a while, and, you don't talk about it. You don't talk about it.
Yeah, but that was a cultural norm back in the 60s, and we didn't have the suicide and OD rates that we have now.
No, I'm saying but it's still a common thing. People are getting slowly more open. Therapy is becoming a little bit more kind of mainstream.
Therapy is like super mainstream at this point,
right?
But I'm saying, but that makes inverse sense then. Like if
I'm saying, I think
we're
it's
not as open as we could
both.
be. We couldn't take on as much as we could. I agree with that, but it's like, we're like middle of the Cold War. We were scared of the Russians all the time.
Yeah,
Like, we were scared all the time, but we still had hope. Like, what happened? Like, that is a real question.
I don't think there was that much hope back then. I mean, I gotta ask my parents, but
there was enough that killing yourself with drugs wasn't a thought process.
I mean, they lived through the Cold War, but I mean, we kind of had similar right after like 9/11. We were on like threat level orange, threat level green, threat level blue and red and purple, and
yeah,
it was this constant like there could be a terrorist attack tomorrow.
Yeah,
I think there even was that kind of like mentality at that time as well. That
right,
but after a few years, I think people were a little less like, okay, yes, we're still under the Cold War.
But I think you illustrate
a lot
my
less
point.
of that immediate.
But even back then,
no, you were trying to say, well, we're going through the Cold War, and we didn't have high suicide rates. Our suicide rates were still relatively high back then as well. I don't know about compared to now.
I don't know.
It was not uncommon.
And maybe it's that cars are so much safer. That'd be the other argument.
So using
the
50s and 60s was a time of a lot of people just taking Quaaludes. There's pill poppers and bennies left and right.
Benzos.
And alcohol was a lot more accepted. Like it was normal. Like you just drink your troubles away, and that was just a common norm.
WBR has
maybe people were committing less because they were just pissed drunk and going to sleep.
WBR has an ad series about like changes in culture or whatever like that, and they pulled out some old footage from like the 70s when I guess some of the DUI laws were starting to take place.
Yeah.
And it's literally this mom with two kids in the car talking about, the government can't tell me what to do. And then it's a guy's like, I just finished a hard day of work. I want to crack a beer and drive home, okay? And it's just like, God.
Different world.
And honestly, I don't, realistically, if that were the truth, I don't really have, honestly, like, if I were going to crack a beer and drive home from work, that's not a big deal. Truthfully, safety-wise. Now, it's to have a couple beers and then continue having beers while I'm driving home. That's a problem.
Right.
It's really not the driving it's not driving with a drink that's the problem. It's how much you drank before you start driving. That's the question. It's always going to be the question. But it's just a funny little, it's just a funny thing to like, just because this guy was fully sincere, but like, fuck you, I'm drinking a beer on my way home from work. You can suck it. But again, like we went through 9/11, we went through that like constant, like we were all afraid all the time of like the next, plane flying into some shit for years, and our suicide rate and our overdose rate did not spike. It stayed lower than the accidental death by vehicular deaths for the time period. Like it just surpassed that in like 2010, 12, something like that.
I don't know.
It's been a big
looked
jump.
At rates.
It has been a significant jump.
Right.
Like especially like dudes like 18 to 45. It's a huge number. Like it is. I think it's the number one cause of death for dudes 18 to 25. Is overdose. It's up there.
Maybe.
I mean, what's more? Because it's not car deaths.
I don't know.
That used to be the kids' ones. So kids used to all die.
I'm not saying you're wrong. I was just saying I don't know. I'm skeptical of it. Sorry.
Okay.
I didn't say you're lying.
Well, I'm asking you if you could think of something that makes more sense.
Not off the top of my head at the moment.
Okay.
No.
I'm sorry. Jeez. So offensive.
Oh, you got defensive just because I was like, I don't know about that.
Well, because you're
I was
telling
just
me
saying
that
I was skeptical.
I feel like and again, I haven't written a book. I don't have a thesis. I don't have a mountain of evidence behind my thoughts on this, other than to say I feel like we are suffering from a crisis of hope, and not even hope in like the flowery, pretty sense, just in the decency. Like, what are the odds that I'm going to have a decent life in 10 years? I think there are a lot of people out there, a whole lot of people out there, that don't have a lot of hope that 10 years from now, life's going to be any better than it is today. If anything, it's going to probably be a little worse. And part of that is because I have a drug problem, but that's not really it, in their head, at least at the time. They don't see that as the problem. They see that as the way to ignore it, at least for now. But there's more there's more to it than that. Like you don't.
I mean, it could just be simply, I don't know, just a lack in general, like hope of, in the general sense, it may just be more like a lack of hope in their own interpersonal.
Sure,
they don't have hope for themselves.
Right, but I mean, yeah, I mean that absolutely. That I don't mean. I mean, but that's still a societal issue. That's something that we have created as a society because it didn't exist before.
Not necessarily.
Then what would be how would you explain that change?
Yeah, they feel like they don't have like a place in society, that their interests that they have don't align with the society they see around them.
Okay,
I think it's a myriad of things. I don't think it's just as simply, but I don't think you're wrong.
I'm not sure.
I think it is a lack of hope, but
I'm not sure where we're missing each other here. Because I feel like you're telling me no, but then you're saying yes at the same time.
I was taking your lack of hope as a more like general, like for hope of like societal future. I think it's more of just like a personal hope.
Right, but I think even I think it's a combination of the two. But I think in the personal hope version, that is a response to societal change. Like
Not necessarily.
Well, then how would you explain a significant sum of people in an age demographic having individual lack of hope for their own future in mass? Like, how does that make? Like, how would it change? How would that change in such a significant level? Sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
In an initial thought of it, and I don't want to blame social media, but I think it's a factor in that. It's something that they see. They see social influencers. Just kind of like these like wealthy. And I think it I don't want to say it's an irrational thought, but I think it's also a perceptional thought that they think that everyone out there is doing great.
I agree. I 100% agree with that because that's something I've talked to my kids about. It's like, look, man, all these guys that you like. So
I don't want to say it's a false lack of hope, but I think it may be misguided.
It ain't real. Right, I've told them that. It's like, but I don't know because that's because I did my own version of that.
It explains a little bit of it. You're right.
Because my own version of that was I was going to be a baseball player. That was my life. That was my path in my head. I was going to be a pro baseball player.
I don't think it's necessarily that they're looking for that aspiration to be that. I think there's definitely a degree of that people see that as either gamers or online animators, etc. And some kind of online kind of career path. I think it's more. What I was trying to point at and mentioning social influencers as far as that kind of like lifestyles they see is
it's big money.
They think that everyone out there is just doing well and living up life and wearing Prada and Gucci and
but I mean but again like in our version of that in our time as kids when we were going through that phase of stuff that are using the comparable to the kids and the social shit.
I don't think we had. I mean we had some. I mean like Paris Hilton and.
But
was on MTV.
We didn't have the volume of the entertainment that the kids have. We didn't have our phones with YouTube show after show after show after show.
Right.
But when we watched live action, like live action sitcoms and shit like that, who were we talking about? Like what were the shows that we were watching? What were the movies that we were watching? Generally speaking, most of them weren't poor people. At least, I mean, Roseanne was, but that was an anomalous show in the market. Roseanne was a great show. That was the only show that I can remember in my life.
Married with Children was better.
Fair enough. Those two were the only ones really that I can think of that were like focused around
like a more accurate,
like a normal Midwestern
class
family trying to make it through the day, like with real, like one of the drama issues that we have in our life and our family and our marriage and all that shit is I don't know if we can pay our bills. Like that was a drama point inside the show,
right?
Where that's not a standard in a lot of shows, but not as much of it. That's fair. Like we didn't do as much. Like we didn't have as much of that to do as they do now. Because they see it tenfold. Everything they watch. These guys are, 8-9 figure income motherfuckers making ridiculous sums of money off their videos.
So
maybe not nines.
I think it's funny just videos of social influencers that keep wanting to ask all their fans for more money to help them live up this lifestyle. It's like, you guys want to see us fly to blah, 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 blah. I mean, we need some more money. It's like, you're seriously asking people for money so you can maintain your luxurious lifestyle? Like,
but, I mean, why are people watching it? Like, if that's why you're watching it, then yeah, you should pay for that. Why not? I'm not sure how the taxes work on that. Like, right. I'm donating to a rich person?
Yeah, I don't know.
Do they pay income tax on that?
Yeah, I don't know.
That's an interesting little deep dive. Yeah. Get some IRS people in here.
That's something that I think is kind of weird to think about, and the kind of amount of poverty and, kind of the socioeconomic status of a lot of people in the U.S. But you see these, GoFundMe pages that pop up at random, a child that has diagnosed with some crazy cancer and, a lot of people in America, collectively kind of come together and raise, large amounts of money.
Yeah.
You kind of see these things that happen.
Which is amazing. It's cool.
Right.
I read this.
At the same time, it's like, well, if we could just get some people together to kind of
I don't know if
a
this
few
is
more problems.
true.
Like, this is possible.
I
And,
don't know if
and
this
for a
is-
lot of those, it's everyday people that are putting money into these GoFundMes.
$20.
Yeah.
$10 here. Well, it's like, I mean, like the same thing with these political campaigns. But I read this somewhere, or I heard this on one of my podcasts, and I don't know if it's true. But it's believable to me is that GoFundMe has paid more in total medical bills than any single insurance company in this country.
Wouldn't surprise me. Yeah.
Exactly. Like, I don't know if it's true.
Paid out more than actual insurance companies paid out. Yeah.
Like, I don't know if it's true. I haven't seen anybody run the numbers in depth, but the person who mentioned it had mentioned that it was in a story that they read, and my recollection was it was a fairly reputable, like The Economist, like it was some sort of like journalistic outlet that did the dive.
Yeah.
And it was like, okay, well, Blue Cross Blue Shield paid this much out this year. GoFundMe paid tenfold. You know,
it's probably a hell of a lot less people too. They paid out more and then actually paid off fewer people.
Yeah, and so it's like, you know, and that's I mean, because that's the thing to be like, that's the hard spot. Like, that's like, I go back and forth. Like, I'll have days where just like the world fucking sucks. I hate everybody. I don't want to talk to people. The public is shit.
Right. That's how I try to remind myself of things like that.
But then at the same time, it's like, you know, like I don't know if I told you this story yet. So there's a group in town. It's called Sunshine Industries. They go by Arknox. They did the over the edge thing the rappelling thing that I did. That's one of their fundraisers.
Yeah.
And so they're a nonprofit, and they work with special needs adults. And it was the most, one of the, I won't say the most that makes me, but it was at least made. I wish I could have gone today instead of on Tuesday, because it would have been much nicer to come out of all this school bullshit and have this instead of going beforehand. Yeah. But like, and really, like, I met with one of the directors there because they are on Central, and I'm working on some stuff for Central as a collective. They've also ran the Derby last year, and I'm trying to make sure they're doing the Derby again. I went there and I talked to them about a bunch of different stuff that we got going on or whatever, and she like insisted on giving me a tour of the facilities. Now, I knew what they did, but I never I'd always thought that it was always like, you know, it was adults with special needs with job placement, and so they'd do some specific training. They'd help them get an understanding of a job. They'd go get them in the job. They'd help them get started. They would kind of supplement the difference between the job standard training and what this particular individual needed, but get them to work in third-party places.
Yeah.
They do that, but they also have a warehouse where they do contract work for other people. One of their customers is the United States federal government bookshelves, and so they have a paint booth in there, and they're painting like these components to the shelving unit, and that's what they were doing all day. And like, it's really cool. Like, in this warehouse, they had a bunch of like heavy fucking equipment, like serious like steel presses and shit like that are all modified for with extra redundancies for safety and stuff, so that these people can work on them and not hurt themselves.
Right.
And it was super cool. But it was one of those, like, you're walking around and like this dude's doing his little paint thing, and he sees me and her walking over there, and he's like, ah! He's like super excited, comes over, talks us up for a little bit, and it's like, great, man, you're doing a great job. Thanks for coming over. You're amazing. Get after it. Yeah. And then he goes back and he's just like loving every minute of everything he's doing, just having a great time, and just talking to a couple of different, you know, I felt kind of guilty leaving because of how much I took from them, just feeling good about myself.
You guys make me feel good.
You guys are amazing. And so it's like that's so cool, and I want to help them out, and I'm going to work on some stuff to try to help them raise money and stuff like that. And so awesome. Some little project I'm putting in my back pocket. Yeah. We're doing some summer action on Central if you guys want to get wet in town. You know, going in there, it was just great. And then I'm leaving, and I was talking to her a little bit more, just kind of as we're walking out. And she's like, "Well, the hardest things we have issues with is that we've gotten too good at what we do, that the people that come and contract us want to pay too much, because the value of what we do for some of these companies is up there. Yeah. But you know, all these guys are on federal disability." So
they can't take that much, or else
they can't make that much, or they'll lose their disability stuff. Right. And so it becomes like part of their contracting becomes this kind of deal where it's like, okay, we're going to do X number of dollars an hour for the staff, but that additional that you would like to pay, we're going to have you pay over here for our facilities and stuff like that. I don't know exactly how it works, Don't quote me on this if they're breaking some sort of law.
Right.
But it's something that they basically work it out so that all of it still goes to these guys for what they're doing and all that kind of stuff, but in different avenues so that they can...
supplemental way. It's like we're going to put into a fund to buy them lunch, through the weeks or whatever.
Right, like transportation, they have to have all the transportation these guys have to do and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Anyway, cool group.
That's awesome.
They do some amazing stuff, and I'm really excited that they exist and that I got to know any of them at all. And it's just like, again, it would have been much more awesome if I would have met them today so that I could have the nice uplifting end of the week instead of have a really super great beginning of the week and then all this crazy shit going on with the schools that really brought me down. And so, but again, I tell that whole story just to illustrate that, like, it's tough. Like, it is a tough world to be in right now because, like, it sucks.
Yeah.
Like, just stupid shit. Like, customer service is out the fucking window anymore. Like, it drives me crazy. I can't go out. I can't go, like, other than Chick-fil-A, and they hate gays, but I still love Chick-fil-A. Like, other than Chick-fil-A, like, going out to get any food ever is a obnoxious experience. Everywhere I go.
Drive-through now.
Huh?
I get to go through drive-thrus again.
The small victories, friend. Small victories. But I'm just saying, like just simple shit. Like, walk in the door to a place to pick up my food and just stand there and watch 15 people working just walk by me. See me continue to walk by me. Just watch me standing there. It's like, how long are you gonna let me stand here? Like, what are we doing? But it's at the point where it's like I can't even pitch a fit anymore. Because I can't be like, fuck you, I'm going somewhere else because I'm going to get the same shit somewhere else. Like, that's normal now, and it drives me fucking crazy.
I haven't had it that bad, but yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Like, I'm sure somebody who's been a regular listener can probably, make a bingo board out of how many times I've bitched about customer service. Yeah. Because it's bad. It's just bad out there, and I don't know what that is. Again, that's a societal shift that something happened. Now, was it intentional or was it accidental because of other things that we're doing? I don't know. But there's stuff there's something going on. It's something in the way we're teaching people. It's something that we're allowing that we used to not allow. And some of it might be I think that's one of the things that's an uncomfortable thing to get touchy on, but I think it's worth getting on. Is like some of the stuff's like, we were a lot more permissive than we used to be about a lot of things. And each of them individually, it's like, okay, I get it. We should be permissive of that. Societally, on a public level, like, we should be permissive of that. Like, but when you add it all up together.
Like what?
I don't know. Like, I'm just saying, like, I don't know, like, whether it's like drag in public or some of the different books that are available in the schools. I don't know which one it is, but like a lot of them that don't make sense, like they don't make sense on an individual level, but like this stuff didn't exist. These other things didn't exist. What changed between here and there? I don't know if it's these or not. I'm not trying to say it is, but there's a lot more stuff that we're permissive about. Whether it's alcohol, like alcohol is like the permissiveness, even though we're still legally really hard on alcohol use. The permissiveness and the amount of alcohol and the social permission to drink a lot is pretty normal. I think more normal than I remember when I was younger. I think the marijuana...
What age group are you talking about?
Do what?
Well, for what age group are you talking about?
Just in general. Like, I think, like, again, this goes into the reality TV and online shit. Like, you have all these fucking, Real Housewives of whatever where all they do is drink wine all day and pick stupid little bitch fights.
Yeah.
But it's like 10 in the morning and they're popping the bottle of wine. And it's like, that's a normal thing for these high-end people in the world we live in.
Sorry, I assumed you were talking about like teenagers working in fast foods or whatever.
I don't know. But again, there are dots between the gap that I'm trying to put together here. And I don't know what they are. But I'm just trying to say, like, marijuana is way more permissive than it used to be.
Yeah, but I think that kind of like ideal of the younger generation, who's less respectful. I think that's kind of been a generational, just kind of like adage of everyone. Like, it's a little bit of perception that we think that I was more respectable when I was their age.
I was.
So I remember both of us being working at McDonald's, being pretty ornery as well.
I was a badass.
Not exactly being.
I was a customer service master.
I was pretty good most of the time, but yeah, I remember getting pissed off at a few people.
I could do my thing. Like,
a lot of times it's just a stressful situation. I mean, some of that could just be a collection of customers also being shittier, so that just kind of like amps up workers.
But right, I mean, but again, it's a chicken or the egg conversation on that one too, because I think
a lot
as
of that's
customer service
managerial is the manager really piss poor training these kids.
Customer service has gotten worse, so customers have started acting worse because that's the only way you get any fucking attention. Yeah. So customer service gets worse from responding to it. And which one was first? I don't know. Right. I mean, like on the customer service, especially in the restaurant side of it, I've got an answer for that one. Because you go to small restaurants, you go to mom and pops, it's better. It's not as good. It's not as good as it used to be, in my opinion, but it's better.
Yeah.
And to me, it's the corporatization, this mass conglomeration shit is causal in that one. Trying to have this uniform training, these mass systems, they just don't work when they get down to that nuance level when it gets to A to B.
It could be that, or it could be the employees working there feel kind of less incentive. You know, you're working for that mom and pop. You know,
you're working personally, right?
Well, no, you're working for something more direct. Where if you're working for a franchise, like you don't give a fuck about that.
Who the fuck's Ray Kroc? I don't know that guy is. I've never met him.
No, you care a little bit less about kind of like maintaining the kind of like name brand or whatever, and that kind of like respect of working for that company and being a representative of that company.
I get what you're after, but I don't know if I necessarily.
I think that would explain a little bit more of like the corporatization, like you were saying.
No, I think I honestly think it's the middle man. It's the impossible task that is the middle management of the corporatization. I don't think it's corporatization in and of itself, because I think on a base level, if you're somebody who is willing to be respectful and give a shit, whether you work directly for the owner or not, it's that middle manager who is not functionally capable of doing that job, for lack of a better word. They're not designed to do that job. The way the corporate system spits them out doesn't make any sense. I think that's where the real and I mean middle manager. I don't mean store manager. I don't mean shift lead managers. I mean like the district regional guys that pop in, the people that are like, oh shit, district's here, freak the fuck out. Right. That thing is what ruins customer service. Maybe. Because if the closest thing to the tip top that you ever touch is that guy, and you're scared to interact with him, you don't care about what he's trying to actually do. You don't. There's no positive. If it's only a stick, there is no carrot to you as the employee. It's not I'm going to do well because I want to make him happy. It's I want to do well so he doesn't get mad.
Right.
And I think if that's the incentive,
you run into that because at a certain level, I know you've run into it in restaurants where it's just kind of numbers driven. It's a little bit less about customer service, and you're just looking at how many meals sold, how many customers did you get in and out, what was your drive-through times, etc.
Right. And I say all this because as I know I'm becoming that guy.
Right.
Like I know I am. I know it, and I'm not ashamed of it either. Like it's at some point there is a need for the numbers, and you've got to pay attention.
Right.
And if you just let the numbers do what they do, then you're going to get your.
I'm just kind of hypothesizing that as one more thing that the kind of bottom level employee.
Right, but when you're 6-7 degrees away and three states away, and you're just like, hey, you need to get your sales up, or you need to get your drive times down, or you need to get this metric fixed.
Right. When
you have no actual tangible touch of why. Because that's my thing. Like I am a numbers junkie right now, and I've been tearing into staff about our numbers, some of the numbers situation. But that's because I have my hands on it, and it doesn't. Like I see why it's bad.
Right.
It's like this is what I'm paying you to handle. Don't let this get to that. And we're creeping that way. We got to fix this. But again, it's tangible to me. It's tangible. I can make it. I have to teach them how it's tangible to them. Where again, when you get to that corporate level stuff, it's like no, just make it so. Make it so. Don't work. That was a random tangent. I liked it. But anyway, customer service sucks. Do better, people. I'm seriously like when the kids say they want Chick-fil-A, I'm like, yeah, let's do it. Like I get excited.
You should get pretty good service.
They are always good. They're always quick. Ththey it's just they.
I've only had a few iffy times. There've been a couple times I've like gone through the drive-through. Like one of the times I remember specifically, and like pull up like to the person. They're taking the order in person, and they just continue for probably a good 10, not quite 15 seconds, but at least good like 10 seconds, just having this like random conversation with a coworker that's next to him. Yeah,
for shame.
I was kind of like standing there, just like
Chick-fil-A
looking at him. The one thing they're talking about, like oh hey, when you're done with that, I've got to go on break, blah blah blah. Like I'm understanding of that. That's shop talk.
Right. Did you hear what Susie did with her boyfriend last night?
Yeah. And then finally, like turned to me and almost went like, okay, like, oh, are you ready now?
He let Jimmy touch her boobie.
Okay, is it my turn? Okay, cool. Yeah, I would like this.
I mean, like I was going to say,
some of them just start going really fast, and I'm like, if you would stop talking, I will give you a second to because I want to make sure you're typing this in. I don't have a complicated order, but it's not. You are absolutely. It is not that complicated.
You are absolutely a complicated order.
It is not that complicated.
What do you get when you get Chick-fil-A? Come on.
I have no pickles, and I tell them to add cheese. It comes with it's normally just bread, chicken patty, and pickles. So it's pretty simple. I'm like, oh, don't want pickles, and add a piece of cheese to it.
Fair enough. I get the spicy with no pickles, and I usually bring it home and I put a piece of cheese.
But I can tell like, you're just in a hurry. Like, oh, you need anything else? I'm like, 3 Chick-fil-A sandwiches. Okay, 3 Chick-fil-A, anything else? And I'm like, 3 Chick-fil-A sandwiches, no pickles. If you would let me finish my sentence, I will tell you exactly what I want.
Damn.
But they're just like,
see, but I
okay, anything else? Anything else?
I got to blame you here, man.
Like, I really want to start giving them shit and start be like, you want the sandwiches or the meals? I'm like, did I say I want meals? I said 3 sandwiches.
I think I got to blame you here, friend. I never answered.
Is it my fault? What am I doing wrong?
I don't know. I actually,
I'm literally like ordering like verbatim of like what exactly I want.
Right, but to be fair, honestly, I do 99% of my ordering through the app, so I don't ever actually have to tell them anyway.
Oh, yeah.
Because I was gonna say my worst experience that I've had with the Chick-fil-A was they said I was at the curbside pickup and they're like, "You Seth?" I'm like, "Yep, thanks, my pleasure," and they turned around. That was it.
Is that somebody else who brought your food out? I guess.
No.
Your order is now complete.
Right. No, he handed me the food and walked away, and I was like, "Oh, no banter, no have a great day, no, just my pleasure."
I mean, it's crazy how busy they stay and like how quickly they just like crank shit out.
They're good. They are good at what they do. I think
almost the worst was when I kind of get that same order, but they typed it in funky, and I think that time I got 4 sandwiches, but they typed it in and added 4 pieces of cheese
to each sandwich. Damn, that's cheese.
So I also got like upcharge for like 16 pieces of cheese.
Yeah, that's a lot of cheese.
I took a bite and I was like, "What the fuck?" Like I like cheese, but not that much.
Yeah, you did. You love that shit. I told you a couple weeks ago. Me and the dude made a grilled cheese bun chicken sandwich.
Cheese bun chicken sandwich.
Made 2 grilled cheese sandwiches, and then we put a chicken patty in the middle.
Yeah, Fuddruckers used to have a burger like that.
I was actually kind of mad. I was like, I should make me one. Like we just kind of like I just said it to him as a joke. I was like, you want to make it? You want to go crazy here, man? He's like, yeah, let's try it. I was like, okay. And then as soon as we like finished making it, and he was walking off, I was like, because he pisses me off because he puts ketchup on his goddamn chicken sandwich. Right, makes me angry. He also puts ketchup on his hot dogs.
It's a man with my heart.
Makes me very good. I don't know. I don't hate ketchup. There's just appropriate places.
Touche.
But he likes onions on everything, so that's good. That's me too. That's my dude. Whatever it is, put some onions on that bitch. Don't care. Just some extra onions. No warning weird.
Let's see here. Okay. In Denmark, a man is suspected of 86 counts of reckless driving. He filmed it himself.
Due to go on.
A 29-year-old man in Denmark faced a whopping 86 preliminary charges for driving at high speeds on motorcycles, riding on the rear wheel, also at high speed, and endangering others, police said, adding that the man had mounted a camera on his motorcycle helmet, which provided investigators with several hours of footage of how he drove. I don't think I've ever seen anything like it. There is no doubt that it has been a big and unconventional case for us to investigate. Let's see here. When detained in May for riding a motorcycle with no license plates.
The moral of the story here is that if a tree falls in the woods, the Denmark police hear it.
Okay.
Go ahead. Continue.
What do you mean?
Go ahead.
I'll
explain.
That was basically the story. What do you mean?
I'm saying, they did. My guess was what you were about to say is that they pulled him over for whatever, right? No license plate. Is that what you said?
I think that was one of them. Yeah.
Right. So they start digging into him because he has no license plate, and then they find he has video, he has the camera mounted probably on the time, and so in the course of the minimal roadside whatever, they confiscate his camera, they watch the footage, and they see all the other stuff. So they never witnessed any of the other crimes, the 85 crimes. They only witnessed the 6th personally, but he had his own.
I didn't read the whole story, but I know there's a lot. You see a lot more speed cameras in Europe on highways.
Yeah, which they may have been able to put some together.
Right, so it could have been somebody they'd been looking for months. Like, hey, we keep saying the same motorcycle that doesn't have plates, but we keep seeing them doing 90 in in a 50.
Oh, they're due kilometers. Come on now. It's 160
I know.
in a 37 or what. I don't know. I don't know the math.
Just throwing out numbers.
I would say, like, the way the headline read, at least, it sounded like that most of him, he basically self-incriminated because he provided the evidence for all the other violations through his camera.
Yeah.
We got another one?
We got vessel rescue.
I know which buttons. I've got the setup fixed.
Did you label them finally?
I did not label them, but I've got the setup
memorized
fixed.
it now.
So it was weird because we were on the phone because I had to switch sides of the game. That's a whole separate story.
Okay.
I know which button's which.
I was just saying you have to play it all over again. We were already in the oddity zone.
I was just kind of recentering it because we got a little wonky. Just bring it back.
Gotcha.
Home.
Vessel rescued in English Channel after emergency call to Dover, Delaware instead of Dover, England.
Okay. So somebody's on a boat, right? Is that this? Okay. So let me see before you read. All right. Let me see if I can guess this story before you read by the headline. So I'm on a boat and something bad happens on the boat and I go, oh shit, I need some help. We just left Dover or on our way to Dover. So I Google Dover emergency services on my phone and somehow I end up with Dover, Delaware from my search. And so I say, hey, my boat's going down and Dover, Delaware, I think is on the actual ocean too. So they're probably a little confused. And they're like, whereabouts? Where's you coming? What's the name of your boat? That kind of stuff. And they're like telling them the information. And they're like, yeah, we got nothing, man. It's like I mean, hell, it's probably dark at one and not at the other at this point in time, I'm guessing.
Probably.
And so they're like, I don't know. It's dark. I can't see anything. And over here in the Dover, Delaware, they're like, it's 4:00 in the afternoon, buddy. It's not dark here.
Yeah. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
We don't have any reports of boats.
Yeah, there's nothing going on like that. I'm confused.
What channel are you talking about?
Oh.
You mean the channel? The channel? I always wonder why you were talking kind of funny. You're over in England, aren't you?
All right, so see if our guesstimates are right.
Let's see here. Police dispatchers in Delaware's capital city are being lauded for helping direct rescuers to a boat floundering in the English Channel thousands of miles away. Dispatchers for the city of Dover found themselves at the center of an international rescue effort last month after receiving a call of an Albanian man who thought he was calling emergency personnel in Dover, England. I'm kind of confused as to where it actually happened.
I mean, that stretch of the channel is pretty narrow.
Right. I'm trying to figure out if the boat sinking was actually in the channel. I think so, yeah. The mix-up happened when a man learned that his brother's boat was sinking in the English Channel, according to Delaware authorities. The caller had conducted an internet search for the Dover Police Department, and the first search result on the screen provided to be Dover, Delaware Police Department. Police officials in the news release Thursday, the family member thought they were calling Dover, England, but was connected with our agency here in the United States. Recognizing that they're trying to refer the friend to college while authorities in England could cost valuable time, communications operator kept the man on the line and began collecting critical information, provided coordinates, and they were able to see here. Called the International Academics of Emergency Dispatch, followed protocols for a vessel in distress. Yeah.
Sweet. Nailed it. Nailed it.
So the 15 and 48 seconds after the initial call, the Maritime and Coast Guard Agency confirmed that rescuers were on their way to the vessel. So that's still a pretty fast response.
Way to go, Dover 911 operator.
Yeah, instead of being like, you got the wrong number, buddy.
Yeah. Nope.
No, but my brother, he's drowning.
Right. You threw well, when you started on the brother thing, I was thinking maybe the brother was in the States and the brother was in the boat in the channel and he called his brother that was in the States for help. And that's how I ended up with a more local version of Dover. But no, it sounds like he was on his brother's boat in the channel and ended up at Dover, Delaware, which makes my prediction correct.
Yeah, a few good ones. There was a bag of Cheetos that created a huge impact on national park ecosystem.
I saw that headline. I didn't actually read that story.
I didn't really think about that. Apparently, even to go in there, you're only allowed non-flavored water. It's the only thing you can take in. Apparently, somebody threw down a bag of Cheetos, and apparently it was within 24 hours. That humidity and mold just started spreading over all the stalactites and stalagmites, and it took them a day or two, I think, to clean everything off.
Hang them from their feet from the flagpole in the town square. Murder them for destroying.
What was it?
Such a fragile thing.
A couple weeks ago, There were guys that were at somewhere out in the west, like kicked over a bunch of like boulders or rocks of like a geographic feature that had been like standing there, had been like weathering over time for like, tens of thousands of years.
Yep, hang them.
They were up on the side of it, just like pushing boulders down.
Apparently, I just want to murder some people.
I'm wondering how well they're going to play dumb, because I guess their lawyers basically said, like, well, there weren't any signs that said we couldn't do it. It's kind of those weird things. I don't know if they can necessarily prove that it's implied that this is a national park and those are natural formations that...
Hey, nothing but pictures.
Oh, there's video of them doing it.
I'm saying what I was taught, I'm sure you're the same, you take nothing but pictures.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Leave nothing but footprints. And leaving a rock in a completely different place is more than a footprint. Although come on. Like, I've been out in the deep woods on a camp or whatever, throwing, we're skipping stones, like.
Right, yeah.
I don't know. That's it, but I can see I can see the legal argument. It's kind of a bullshit argument, but I can see that kind of sticking legally speaking.
Yeah. It seemed like they weren't like on any kind of like trail. Like they were way off. Like I don't even know how the fuck they got up like to the side of this thing anyway. Like I'm surprised they weren't going to fall off and die.
Yeah. Not me, man. You know what I want to do? I need to do this. I need to add this to my local list. The South Knox Bluffs over there by the hospital, where you can get up on the south side of the river.
Yeah, there's a big like apartment complex up there.
Yeah, there's supposedly like there's some trails up there. You can get up in there.
It's got to be up in like Cherokee Trail area.
Yeah, because there's like there's I saw a thing on it, and there's a picture of somebody that did like their selfie over their shoulder kind of thing, and you could see the rocks at their feet had a bunch of spray paint where people had been tagging up there.
Yeah,
which whatever. I mean, it sucks, but whatever. I just thought like that's about the view, that's about the view out, not the view down. But I also don't like cliffs. We went down to Chattanooga a couple years ago. And did that whole mountaintop thing. That was very uncomfortable for me.
Yeah, I did that incline years ago. We got a little trolley that goes all the way up.
Yeah, we drove up and hiked around it a bunch. My oldest just kind of walked right over a poisonous snake. Didn't even notice it. He was in the front of our line of us and goes, "Hey, look, there's a snake!" And we all go,
"Yeah, I think there's a Civil War fort up on the top of it too."
Yeah. Which actually, what was funny about it is we ended up actually going in the back way to get into the fort part, which you had to pay to get into the fort.
I think I remember you telling me about that.
From the top, and then we had to walk down the street. It was rough. It accidentally ended up being a big journey, which we didn't intend on, but we got through it. It was fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, that snake thing was something. Because like we saw it and we stopped, and so he was on the other side of it. It's like just keep going a little bit and stay. And I got a stick and it's like poking at the snake from as far away as I could be to get it to go off the trail and continue down. It's like it was definitely it was a diamondback of some sort. Like it was a venomous snake for sure.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's the show, everybody. You got anything else?
We can call it.
Anything to sip? We did a regular show. We drank some beer, and we don't have COVID. Almost Agreement at gmail.com. We're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, and YouTube. Go to the website, almostagreement.com. Check out what's going on there. Hollerbrew24 is upon us. Hollerbrew.com. Come race your Come race your soapbox derby car with us. Check out all the cool vendors we're going to have, and see a sweet, sweet rock show. Lineup announcements coming up. Go to your favorite social media network. Find us on there. Hollerbrew. Search it out. You'll find us. It's got a weird witch lady. Shoot me an email, almostagreement@gmail.com. Go to our favorite podcast providers. Like us there, share us there, text us to your friends. Whatever you can do to help spread the word. We're going to keep doing what we're doing. We're going to keep talking about things and stuff and whatnots as they come across our desk. This was a good, fun show. I enjoyed tonight very much. Thank you, Sam, for doing what you do and being who you are. I love you, buddy. And we're going to go and drink some beer. See you later.